good? What's good? What's good? It's Overrated Gamer. We're back with another live stream, and we are back on the channel with a continuation of World Gone Man. This is insanity at its finest. We're here, and we're doing it now. And it is craziness. Let's see. Alright, so we're going to have an extra added to here. So this is going to be a pretty, somewhat lengthy stream here. Alright. We got a pretty lengthy one. We got a couple things that we're reacting here to. So we got a lot of content here to consume. Now, so, yeah, we got a lot of content here to consume, and links for everything is in the description. I want to point that out. So, Dan Reviews, his channel is in the description. So, show my man love and support. Playlist for the entire series reaction to this is also in the description. So definitely check that out. As well as the video, which actually I'm going to react to that first. Yeah, it's true. Is also the link is in the description. So 3 links, check them all out. I would recommend it, especially if you want to get a better idea of why this character got killed off. So obviously, if you don't know already, if you're not keeping up to date with me with the episodes of World Gone Mad and with season 4, which I definitely recommend you do so. Obviously, you know Mr. Lincoln West, my man, my homie, that's been leading this after episode 3 killed off on that final part. Unfortunately, it's a goner, and it is a shame, 110%. I am confused about it. It doesn't make sense to me, and it takes a lot of interest away. I am not going to lie. However, I went this far with the series. I'm willing to give it a chance to see the direction of where this is heading, to see if it is worth to continue with World Gone Man. I heard from a lot of people that it gets better, so I'm hoping that that is the case. In my perspective, of course. And I hope that is the case, because I would love to keep going, and I would love to have that same interest, or maybe the interest builds, maybe, where I'm enjoying it just as much with Lincoln West there, as much as it is enjoying it without him. I'm not gonna lie, because I really did think that he was the shining light in a lot of senses. So the fact that he got killed off is insanity to me. However, I heard that the direction that they are wanting to go, he cannot be there. So evidently there is a certain direction that my man Dan and Mega Man, because eventually he joins the situation, which his channel will also be in the description once I get to that episode, of course. And will continue to be in the description going forward from that episode on. And we'll be shouting him out as well as my man Dan. So it'll be a dual situation going forward. Now, like I said, I'm hoping I enjoy what they give. And all that good stuff. Obviously, I will be checking to make sure things are good. To make sure that the stream is going, because evidently my iPad's been kind of finicky with stopping randomly, which I don't know why. We were good in the last episode though. I got through with no problems. So hopefully this one we won't have any issues either. Hopefully, that's what I'm shooting for. Obviously, this one will be longer, so there is that to put into perspective, of course. Sorry, stupid thing keeps moving on me. If you're curious, I'm just I'm putting this to, it makes it more comfortable, I guess you could say, which it is. It's making it more comfortable. The comfortness of this chair is getting worse and worse as it goes. So this is just making it more tolerable. So bear with me. I will probably be doing that for the other chair actually, because it is leather. So I'll probably be maybe adding this or whatever to make it a little bit more soft, you know, or at least where it's not cold, if you know what I mean. Because you know how leather is. When it's in a cold environment, essentially it stays pretty cold, unless if you sit in it for a period of time, of course. So, yeah. So that is the situation here. But yeah, that's the reason why I have this on. So, we got his update video, which was 15 minutes. Then we had the episode 4, an hour and 18 minutes. So it's going to be a lengthy one here. And then we got part 2, which is about 30 minutes, and then part 3, which is about 17 minutes, I believe. So, we're going to do all the parts, combine it together, because it is technically a part of that episode. And so that way that we get the full context of everything that happens, you know, in that situation, and everything like that. So that way then we're covering everything. So, so that is what we're doing here. So, like I said, link for the video that we're reacting to, the big shocking moment explained. Link is in the description. The playlist for the entire War Gone Mad series, link is in the description, and Dan Reviews, his channel, link is in the description. Definitely show my man love. Shout out to him, of course. Show him some love and support. Check out his War Gone Mad series. Please definitely do so. Give it a chance, or at the very least, check out his content for sure. Links for everything is in the description. show my man love. Would appreciate it. So, that'd be awesome. He gives a lot of support here. So, I potentially might get another drink. Maybe, we'll see as we go. I will be doing episode 220 right after when I finish World on Mad. The parts that I'm reacting to. And I'll squeeze that in here to knock the number down another episode for Hedgehog Gross. As I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to be able to squeeze in one more episode of Hedgehog Gross during the afternoon or not. I'm going to definitely shoot to try to, but don't 100% know. I'm going to shoot for it though, because that'd be great. If I can knock it down 2 episodes, W's. You know what I mean? I really haven't been able to knock it down much, other than to 45, which now I'm at 44 at the moment. So if I can knock it down to 43, that means when they do the episode later today, it will, I'll be at 44, which is good, because that would be knocking it down by 1. And if I am able to do one more episode, I'll be knocking it down by 2. So, so I just want to kind of get that number to come down, if you know what I mean. So that way that we can make some progress. Getting closer to being up to date with them. And then I don't have to do as many, if you know what I mean. It'll just be 1 episode a day, and when they take days off, they actually get a break. And I'll be able to squeeze in other content as well. So definitely what I'm shooting for. But anyways, we're gonna get right into it. Hopefully my man pops in. That'd be awesome. If he doesn't, I hope he enjoys it nonetheless. Hit that like button. We appreciate it. We go for 6 likes. That'd be awesome. That's a good number for me. For this one, since this one's gonna be a big one. So, here we go. Let's get into it. Like I said, links for everything is in the description. So I'm gonna rewind it back because I didn't play it for a hot second.
Okay, so I'm gonna leave this camera running for probably like 10-15 minutes. I'm not even gonna really edit this video all that much either. This video is simply
way different.
Me talking to you guys about World on That and the episode that aired last night. So there's not gonna be any kind of fancy editing in this video or anything like that like we usually do. This is just gonna be simply me talking to you guys. So there you go. But for those that have watched World on Mad last night, I had a lot of feedback from you guys. I had a lot of responses from you guys. I had a lot of crazy reactions from you guys. Luckily, I've heard nothing but good things from y'all fans. I'm very happy to hear that. I'm happy to hear that I didn't make anybody want to leave the show. You know what I mean? Because we did something pretty insane last night for World Gone Mad, which I will say now, if you have not seen World Gone Mad Season 4, Episode 3, this is your chance to get out. In about 10 seconds, I'm going to say it. So, like I said, if you haven't seen it yet, this is your warning. Click off the video. I'll wait another few more seconds and then we'll get into it. Okay, so if you're still here, you've seen the episode. Lincoln's dead, guys. Lincoln's dead. Yeah. Like I said, your guys' response to this was absolutely insane. I had people that were absolutely shell-shocked. I had a lot of people that just really didn't know what to do with themselves. I actually had a few people responding to me saying that they were crying, so again, I apologize for making that happen. I know that Lincoln was, definitely a very important character to this series. He was the most important character. And it's sad to see what happened to him, right? It really is. And, here's what I'm going to say. So, World Gone Mad from the very beginning, and I haven't been able to say this until we're here now. World Gone Mad, as you all know, was originally intended to be a comic book. You guys remember that? Back in 2019, World Gone Mad was intended to be a comic book series. And I remember I advertised it as such. And I remember I was going to do the drawings for it and whatever. There was even a moment where I actually wanted to get a professional artist to do it, but it was too much. There were times where I was actually looking into that, because I do know some people that actually could have helped me actually do this comic and really make it something insane, which, one day we could always do. It's not something that's impossible. I'm not saying we can never not do it. The World Gone Mad comic could absolutely happen one day, but that's besides the point. World Gone Mad was originally supposed to be a comic, and in that comic book series, back many, many years ago when this story was written, In issue 50 of the comic books, Lincoln would die. That's exactly what happened. And I've made a lot of changes from the source material to the narrated version, right? For example, I've said this before. Dave Miller would have originally died in the season 1 finale in the comic book series, right? And he does die in the comic book series. When Tom fights Dave on the bridge, Dave dies. That's how it goes. Tom gets revenge for Billy. Everything goes down just like that. And we've gone against some of the storylines that I originally had in the comic book draft of this series, right? And we've changed things and we've made things different, right? The appearance of the Apostles was very different in the comic book series. It was done in a very different way. A way that I think the show corrected, I would say. There is a lot of iffy writing from the comic books in the early days. I'm not going to lie, because I was kind of young. I was getting started with writing and stuff like that. But this would have been issue 50. Lincoln's death scene, the introduction to Bishop, the return of Ryan, and the death of Lincoln in the way that it was handled would have been issue 50 of the comic books. Now, with that being said, it was always intended for Lincoln to die. It was always intended, and it was always something that was always hard to do. I never really wanted to do it. It's not something that, it's not something I necessarily wanted to do, but it's something that the story, kind of forced me to do, right? The way the story goes and the way the World Gone Mad goes, and I can't speak on anything that goes in the future of this series, Lincoln West would not have a purpose. He would not. He would not have any kind of purpose on what comes up next. It really is what drives the story. His death is what drives the story to what it becomes, right? And here's what I can say. His death was not easy to do. It's definitely not something that was easy to make. I don't think it's easy for anybody to kill their lead off like that. And again, I've heard very much a lot of positive feedback. I've heard a lot of people that have enjoyed it so far, which is not the response that I expected, to be honest. It's not the response I expected, so I appreciate you guys and you fans for, being honest. Even if it's a death that you think is kind of out of nowhere and it's kind of outrageous, I'm glad that, some people were able to enjoy it and some people were able to, accept the way the story is going and, that kind of thing. And I'm very happy about that. I'm very, very surprised by the fan response to this decision, you know what I mean? But here's what I'd say. Lincoln is a character, and now that we know what he's all about, now that we've seen his story all the way through, he really is a crazy character. He is a really crazy character. He starts off looking for his family. He starts off in a state that's just like, kind of broken. He doesn't really know what he's going to do. We even heard in this episode recently in 403 where he says to Sydney he wishes that he just gave up and died, Loki, back in the early 10 months when he was out there on his own. He actually kind of wishes that maybe he never found his family. Maybe that's what these people needed. And Sydney kind of reassured Lincoln, like, no, you're our leader. Like, you're our leader. You're the guy that started this whole thing. You're the reason why I'm here. You helped me find my sister. You helped Tom, fight Dave. You helped all these people. You became the guy that we could rely on. And, Sydney really wanted to make sure that Lincoln knew that, And one of the things I really tried to do in this episode, and as I'm sure you guys noticed while you were watching the episode, there are a lot of callbacks to the first season, obviously, right? We had the narration at the beginning of Lincoln, right? And now we skip to 6 years into the apocalypse and we find out how he's doing now, you know what I mean? And we see Lincoln in the flashback, asking Haley, like, what do you see, right? If there's a sign of hope out there. What do you see? And she sees the Robin, right? And it comes in at the end, at the very end of the episode, and it comes in full circle. And she sees the Robin again. And at least in the way that I wrote the episode, I envision it that Lincoln is sending her a message beyond the grave, right? And it's Lincoln telling her, go, you're going to be fine. You know what I mean? You're going to get out of this. You're going to, do what you're going to do, and you're gonna be okay. You're going to be that leader that they need, And from the beginning of the series, we set up Haley as a very, intimidating person when she wants to be, but at the same time, a very just, capable survivor that knows what she's doing. She knows how to handle herself, and she has been through probably the worst trauma out of any character I've ever written. I'm not gonna lie. Haley has been through the absolute most unspeakable things ever. I mean, honestly, she has gone through the most out of any character in this show. I don't think there's any kind of debate there. And Lincoln's death really is a major staple for this, you know. And even in the original season 2, you know, when we had the wedding vows, right, and we kind of ended with that with Lincoln, you know, in sickness and in health until death parts us. And in sickness and in health was the title of the season 2 finale, which was a 2-parter, right? And this episode is a 2-parter as well, and it's called Till Death Parts Us. It's the rest of that story. And, you know, World got mad from the very beginning. You know, Lincoln was looking for his family. That's all he cared about. That's all that mattered to him was his family, you know. And now he's doing this. He's sacrificing himself for his family. And in the first episode, he was tied to a tree, and he was, interrogated by this guy named Tom, right? And this guy spared his life and untied him from the tree and became his brother figure, right? And now in season 4, episode 3, Lincoln is tied to a tree, and his real brother doesn't free him. He kills him, which is kind of speaking on what the West family has, you know what I mean? The West family has people like Ashley, it has people like Haley, it has people like, Billy, that are very good, right? They're very good people, they're nice little kid, and, Haley's very good, and, Ashley seems like she has a good heart as well, too, you know what I mean? But you have people like James that are just absolutely out of their minds, and Lincoln spared his life literally last episode in the flashback, and look where that got him. Lincoln is a character that I really wanted to write as his character in the end, and this I can finally speak on his character. He starts off as a tragic character looking for his family. He finds his family, then he loses his family, then he loses his mind a little bit. He tries to hang on because he doesn't want to really, be like that. He doesn't want to be out of his mind. But think about losing your kids and what that would do to you. Seeing them up there like that, displayed. Think about what that would do to you as a person. And then your wife gets raped by someone like Chris. You know what I mean? Lincoln's story goes out of whack. And he loses it, but he tries to hold it together. But there's moments where he can't, And there's someone like Dave that's around that he just doesn't trust at all because of past events, but he's forced to work with him, And at the end of season 3, he finally gets revenge on the Vipers. He finally finishes the job, And he decides in that moment, I'm done. I'm done with being outrageous. I'm done with losing my mind. It's not worth it anymore. I'm going to do the right thing, I'm going to go get that woman on the side of the road. I'm going to save her life, you know what I mean? I'm going to start fresh. I'm going to do things different. I'm going to become a good leader again. I'm going to be that man that, my son can call his father. I'm going to become that man that, can lead a community well. And for, literally 5 years of time, that community was able to live in a good way. Besides James's fiasco, during the time skip, he was able to live a really good life with his family. You know what I mean? He really was. And he asked, God, he said, spare my family. I don't care what happens. Make sure they live. I don't care what happens to me. Just make sure they get out alive. You know what I mean? And that's what he did. And that is exactly what happened. The prayer was answered. You know what I mean? That's what it is. The prayer was answered. And it's really sad because now he's dead, right? So the family is going to go on without him. And I've said this many, many times. This show is about the West family. That's what it's always been about. The show is about the West family. And that legacy will carry on with Billy, with, Haley and Ashley and James and Isaac. As much as they're, horrible human beings. And they definitely, they have it coming, for sure. They definitely do. But it's, there you go, guys. It's not an easy thing to do. Killing a leadoff is not an easy thing to do. I really hope I did it in a way where you guys can appreciate it. From what I've heard from the fan feedback so far, it's positive. It has been positive, and I'm glad to hear that. And again, I want to appreciate you all for following Lincoln's character for these 4 seasons. Whether you loved him, whether you disagreed with him at times, You know, or you fully see his perspective and you fully see why he does things. You know, it's up to fan interpretation. But he's a very conflicting lead. He has his moments where he's good. He has his moments where he's bad. You know, and that's how he's written. He's supposed to be a very anti-hero type character, and you know, there you go. There you go. He saw his wrongs and he's gone. There you go. So I can confirm now going forward in the series and based off of you know what happened, we are going to be getting new leads for this show, obviously. And the leads for this show is going to be 3. It's an ensemble cast and it's actually led by 3 characters. We're going to have Haley, she's going to be one of them. We're going to have Tom, he's going to be another one. And Dave is going to be the other. So those 3 characters are going to lead the show. And funny enough, those are the characters I've heard the most support for. So that, you know, I think that's definitely the right choice. And, you know, I think that's definitely where the story needs to go. It was always intended for this to go this way. If you go and, you know, watch older seasons of the show, you'll honestly see a lot of setup for this. And, you know, it's very much in your face. When you go back and watch the 4 seasons now and you go back and watch what we did, it's been set up the entire time. I promise you this, if anybody thinks that this was just a last minute decision, it wasn't. It was there the whole time. It was set up the whole time. And the story is absolutely going to be, it's going to be affected by this, for sure. And, you know, we have a lot now. We got Bishop. We got all this stuff. We got all this new storyline that, you know, is being presented to us. And I hope you guys are ready for the ride because it's going to be absolutely insane. So if this was a comic book, this would be issue 50. And I can't even believe that my story has gotten to that point. So thank you for sticking around for 50 issues worth of content. And I hope you guys are ready to see where the story goes next because it does get crazier than this. I might sound like I'm lying, but I'm not. The story gets even more insane than what we do here. And the story is absolutely out of this world. So keep watching. Thank you for your support. Thank you for following Lincoln's character for all this time. And I hope you guys are ready for what comes next. World Gone Mad is back, guys. World Gone Mad. We got more episodes coming up for the rest of this half season. We got a few more episodes to go for the first volume of season 4 of World Gone Mad, so make sure to stay tuned for that. And I'll see you guys really soon for more videos for World Gone Mad. Thank you all for your support, and I will see you guys really soon for more World Gone Mad videos. Peace out.
Okay. Well, that was going in depth on why the character had to die and everything like that. Let me know what you guys thought of that review and that reaction and everything like that. And everything like that. So. Now kind of thinking about it, getting that video perspective on it. I kind of have a better understanding on why he made that decision to do so. Killing off that character. Damn. Still hurts. Still hurts. But I respect the decision. I do. I respect the decision more. It's a good video. Doing a very good depth on it. Yeah. Yeah. What's up, second Mary? How you doing? How we doing? So definitely check out that video if you guys haven't, to get a better context of the situation and that decision. At the moment, our rating is still the same, but I will keep updating you if it changes, and it very well might. But nonetheless, here we go. Episode 4. We're continuing on. We are continuing on. When was the last time I did the? Because I'm actually just a little bit curious on like if it's been a week or not. I don't know if it has. Oh, 6 days. Okay, so just about. Alrighty. Here we go. Episode 4. Part 1. A House of 1,000 Corpses. I'll adjust the volume as we go. Will my interest continue? We will see. Now.
We open on the night sky, as we see 3 other apostles sitting around a big campfire in the woods outside of an open cave. We see Bishop sitting there as he says to all his men,
"Well, here we stand, my lord. You gave us a victory the other day, and we thank you for allowing us the chance, and we will certainly embrace our victory. This world doesn't have many victories anymore, but the other night, we made apostle history. You know, I always think about before all this havoc. I think about time, money, laws, 9 to 5s. These are all things the world made up back when we were civilized. But God had other plans. He wanted things to be more simple. No stress about work, money, bills, or anything like that. But now, humanity is being restored. Things are going back to how it once was. There's no limit on what people can do anymore. It's a broken world with very little hope. But humans evolved. So can the world. And the humans that have been chosen to continue on this planet is still here because they have a purpose to fill. At my worst, I was sure I would find that white light to the other side. And for a second I did. But I believe that every person sitting around here right now is here because they all have a purpose. Like the apostles once said, the bishops are the successors of the apostles, and that in a broken line of successions connects the apostles to all legitimate bishops, a doctrine known as apostle succession. And I'm here to promise you all that we will carry that legacy. The that we will carry it for generations into this world gone mad.
As we see all the apostles take off their masks and pray together, as we see Bishop looks at them and smiles.
Good. Soon.
We see an open cave. Bishop walks into the cave. As he walks past several apostles, we see him go far underground as it leads to a door guarded by an apostle. He goes inside where he walks down more stairs as it leads him to an underground community. We see people working. We see there's electricity, people feeding plants, a cafeteria, a wall full of apostle masks hanging. And as we also see a wall of pictures of people, and it says at the top, apostles we remember, showing their fallen people. As Bishop walks through, we see everyone looks happy to see him, as we see Bishop has made it home.
Bastard.
We see Bishop walks down some stairs. As he walks through, several apostles standing guards. We see him walk into a very nice room. As an apostle walks up to him, and Bishop says,
Everyone clear the room. I need to talk to my assistant for a minute.
everyone leaves, and we see Bishop says,
Apostle Cheryl, did I miss anything interesting while I was away?
Cheryl says, no sir, been mostly quiet. Who's the new prisoner? Bishop says,
He's a part of that group that almost killed me all those years ago. I took off the head of the snake. The main source has been removed. Now it's time to get some information.
Cheryl says, oh, sounds exciting. Bishop says,
Well, thank you for holding things down here.
Cheryl starts walking away and says, anytime. Oh, and James said he wanted to see you about something later, just whenever you get the chance. Bishop says,
All right.
as we see Bishop make himself at home. Back in Washington, D.C., we see Dave in front as he, Tom, with Snoop, and Rivers, Miles, and Roger look out to the city. Dave says, all right, it's getting dark soon. We should find somewhere to hold up for the night. Let Roger rest, and tomorrow we finish the mission. Tom says, well, okay. Well, let's not let our tits sit in nice cold air for too long. Let's get a move on here. They all get in the truck and drive over the bridge into the post-apocalyptic city. We see them driving through these dark streets as we see how trashed this place is. We see them driving through. We then see Rivers looking at all the burned out buildings and the dead, almost skeletons now, and burned corpses. Rivers says, what exactly went down here anyway? Tom says, there's some things people do for the ones they love. Lincoln was the one that made the call to do this. And because of that, we're still here. It may not look like it, but it was worth it. Maul says,
Still feels weird being back here again. Dave says it's not forever. We'll be in and we'll be out within a day. They pull into the alleyway. As they park the truck, they all get out, and Rivers sees a building in decent condition and says, "We'll go here. I don't think this one's been burned." Dave says, "Nice job. Alright, we'll go to the..." They then hear the sound of several deadheads down the street, and Tom says, "Sounds like a shitload." Mal says, "Let's get inside." As they all run in and lock the doors, Dave looks at them all and says, "This'll have to do for the night."
Back at the Apostle Nest, we see Ashley sitting in her room, crying. We see her looking at herself in the mirror as she says, "I should have known. I should have known. Fuck, I should have known. How the fuck did I know?" And as she looks at herself in the mirror, we see flashbacks of her through the mirror, of her begging Bishop not to kill Lincoln. As we see the smile on his face, we see Ashley crying that night and looking angry. And now, as she looks at herself and says, "The snake will always bite back." As we cut to the snake, Bishop sitting in his room. As we see he's got a nice setup down there. We see he's pouring himself a glass of brandy as he sits down. The second he has a second alone, we see him sitting there remembering something that he did in the past. Bishop says, "This is what victory feels like. What a fucking joke." Back in Washington, D.C., we see Rivers is on first watch. We see she's smoking a cigarette, and Tom walks up to her and says, "Hey." Rivers says, "Weren't you supposed to be out here 3 hours ago?" Tom says, sorry. I haven't been sleeping much lately." Rivers says, "Why not?" Tom says, "Just... ever since these apostles have come into play, things have been different. I feel like we're all about to be those people we were last time we were here, before this place got burned." Rivers looks upset and says, "None of this is your fault. I dragged everybody into this. I asked Sydney for help back there. Sometimes I wonder if maybe I should have just kept going. Maybe you guys wouldn't have been in danger." Tom says, "Hey, don't think like that. You have helped us more than ever. And Lincoln's a good man. He put his faith in you that day. And look at you now. I'd say you made the right call." Rivers says, "Thanks. Although, you don't know all the stories about the apostles, what my dad did, fuck, what I did." Tom looks at her and says, "You should get some sleep." Rivers says, "No, I can't sleep now. Not in this burnt piece of shit, at least." And Tom asks, "How many smokes do you got?" Rivers says, 7. Tom says, "That's good enough. You want to tell me what happened?" Rivers says, "Okay. Well, here it is." We then see James punching Luke in the face over and over again, and Luke says, I didn't do anything." James says, "Oh, you didn't now? Well, as far as I'm concerned, you're not the one with the burned face here, are you? So how about you count your fucking blessings?"
He then hits him again, and then we see Bishop come in from out of the shadows, and he says,
"I knew I'd find you like this."
James says, Welcome home, sir. Bishop says, clear the room. Me and our guest here are gonna have a lot of catching up to do. James says, of course. As James and the others all walk out of the room, Bishop then pulls up a chair. Luke looks terrified and says, you here to finally kill me? Bishop laughs and says, no. No, that's not up to me. You see, your life is in Mrs. West's hands now. Her actions will be very crucial on your future. Bishop says, now I know you recognize me. And you've heard part of my story. Although I think it's time you hear the full thing. So I hope you're ready to listen. Because my story's only getting started.
Damn. What's up, Cosmo? I'm sure you perfectly you weren't ready. Yeah. Let's give. How's it doing? Is the stream doing pretty good? Okay. Good. Just making sure. Nice intro. Part 1. Ryan. Six years ago.
Six years ago, we see a group of 30 deadheads. We see a younger Ryan before he became bishop, as he's firing his gun and killing several of them that are coming at him at once. He kills most of them and clears a path and quickly runs away from the rest, as he then checks the bullets that he has left and sees he doesn't have many, as he runs down the road away from the rest of the deadheads.
Huh. Okay.
Later on, we see him walking up to a house up a hill, as he starts walking towards it. Later that night, we see he's just sitting by the window, as we see he's looking at an old gun that has several lines chipped into it. As he looks at the dead banging at the window, and we hear a woman's voice saying, honey, hey. As he turns around, we see it's Amelia. As we see she's pregnant, and Ryan says, yeah, are you feeling okay? She says, are you? You've been out here most of the night. Ryan says, oh, I'm sorry. I just couldn't sleep. I didn't want to wake you. Amelia says, well, this little guy's been kicking the ever-living shit out of me all night, so I get the struggle. Ryan doesn't laugh, and she notices it.
What's up, Dan? Welcome to the stream. I made it. What's good? Actually, I'm like 17 minutes in, but yeah, you pretty much made it. It's funny, actually. I'm not. I have to go the rest of them anyway. I was wondering if you're gonna pick in here. Wait, give me 1 second. Hold on. yeah, so I watched your video. It's a pretty good video, and I definitely had a better understanding, I will say. Still pretty slow.
And she sits with him and says, "What's been keeping you up, babe?" Ryan says, "The dead. More and more are piling up. I'm starting to question our safety here, baby." Amelia says, "It's only been a few months, babe. The dead are going to start to die out eventually. There'll be less and less of them. We may not have anyone else but us, but it'll be something, okay?" Ryan says,
They're part of
"I
the plan.
What would I do without you?" Amelia says, "What would you? I am the ideal wife."
I'm
They
just
both
hoping
chuckle,
I
and Ryan
sink
kisses
back
her,
into your
and they
what
hear
you're
the
trying to
dead
tell.
still banging at the window. And he grabs his shovel and says, "Be right back." We see him walk outside, and he says, "Hey!" And he bangs the shovel against the fence in the front of the house. As the dead approaches him, he kills them all, and we focus on the bloody shovel as we see Amelia watching this from inside.
I'm just hoping my interest stays strong.
Later that night, we see candles lit.
That's
As
really
we
what I'm
see them
concerned
sitting
about,
around
Dan.
a candlelight dinner, we see they're eating canned food.
Got me
and
this
Ryan
far.
says, "Tomorrow, I'm gonna go look for more." Amelia says, "Already? There's been more dead piling up lately. Barely any food in any of the stores nearby anyway. It's just been me and you these past few months. So maybe we need to take this as a sign to go somewhere else." Ryan says, "Hey, go where? As far as I can tell, this whole virus is worldwide. And if it's not even safe in our own home, damn it, then where is it safe?" Amelia says, "I'm just thinking about our kid. It's about to be born, Ryan. Pretty soon it's not just going to be the two of us. It's going to be about his or her survival as well." Ryan says, I know. I'm sorry, baby. This is just not how I wanted us to start being parents. I have to raise our kid in whatever kind of world we have left." Amelia holds his hand and says, "Hey, look at me. The world might be lost, but for whatever reason, God is keeping us alive in this house. That's gotta mean something. And I know you know that. Believe in good luck, and it'll come to you." Ryan kisses her and says, "I love you. And little Ryan Jr. as well." Amelia laughs and says, "You don't know that for sure." Ryan says, "I'm telling you, one day we'll be old and gray and that little guy will be the one out there clearing the fence all day. Fuck that shit." As they both laugh, we see the dead piling up at the fence as more and more start approaching the house. Later on, we see Ryan packing up, and Amelia says, "You going out again today?" Ryan says, "Babe, we're running low on food. If we just stay, within a few days we're going to be out of rations, and that can't happen. I won't let it." Amelia looks unsure and says, "Okay, just be careful, okay?" Ryan kisses her and says, "I'll be back soon. If anything happens, radio me. I'll be on Channel 8. And Amelia says, "Okay, I'll see you soon."
Young Bishop, yeah. Yeah. I don't think he'll give me a sympathy for him though.
We see Ryan walking the streets. As he's approaching the store, Target, we see him walking through this abandoned parking lot with cars everywhere, but nobody around. This town is full of death. As we then see he walks in and points his gun forward and whistles to see if there's anybody in there. He hears and sees nothing and then walks in. We see the shelves are pretty much empty, but there's still a little bit left. He packs most of what's left and then starts walking towards the door with the food packed up.
when then he sees 3 men with guns walking the streets. He's watching them from inside as these men are killing a few deadheads. We then see they're laughing, and they look to be a bit rowdy. Ryan then sees this and looks a bit on edge. He then sees they're approaching the building, and he quickly tries to run out the back. He opens the door out back, but then he sees dozens of deadheads out there, and quickly locks himself back in. He's trying to hurry so he doesn't get seen, so he hides inside one of the shelves in hope that they don't see him. The men enter the store, and we see they have several guns, and they seem pretty equipped. We see they spread out as one of the guys goes down the aisle that Ryan is hiding in. And as the man is walking through, static from the walkie-talkie starts going off. The man hears it, and Ryan quickly turns off his walkie-talkie. The man keeps walking. Back at the house with Amelia, we see she doesn't look well, and then she looks outside to see several deadheads outside. She looks scared and starts walking outside to take care of it. We see several are pressing up against the fence, and she looks worried, and then she pulls out her walkie. Back at the store, Ryan then turns off his walkie as he looks scared, but then, as the guy keeps going, he looks relieved. Out of nowhere, 2 of the guys throw him out of the shelf and onto the floor. Ryan is begging them, please, you don't have to do this, okay? I'm cool. I'll go, okay? I'm just trying to get back home, okay? The leader says, oh, and where would home be, Pitsy Foo? Revealing this guy is French. We then see the other guys going through his bag, and one of the guys says in French, going to be a good night, fellas. We got bottled water, canned goods, and even medicine. Ryan says, no, please. That's for my wife, please. Just at least let me take that. They pistol whip him to the floor, and the guy says, aye, he will not stop yapping. Ah, merde. Ryan looks scared, and then we hear his walkie-talkie going off, as we hear Amelia screaming over the walkie-talkie, saying, babe, back with Amelia. We see the fence come down as Amelia falls to the ground. She picks up her walkie and says, babe, Ryan, if you read, the fence is down. The dead are surrounding the house. I don't know what to do. We see her lock herself inside, and she says, I'm trapped inside. We then see water dripping on the floor. She says, and I think the baby's coming. Ryan looks worried as the main guy steps on the walkie-talkie and says, too bad La Belle Chérie will have to die alone. We take it all. He looks at his men and says, well, let's not leave no breadcrumbs, huh? He smiles as the men start beating him up bad as the leader starts walking away and says, always a pleasure at Target. He walks outside and gets in his truck, waiting for them to finish the job inside. We see Ryan getting beat badly as we see Amelia look scared as the dead are at the door. We see the door gets knocked down as the dead start flooding into the house. Amelia runs upstairs in labor as she manages to drag the couch to the stairway and blocks it off so the dead can't get upstairs as she sits there in fear. We see Ryan is covered in blood, bleeding on the floor as the guys laugh and one of them says, let's pull out a knife and put that in his skull, huh? When out of nowhere, a knife comes through the guy's mouth as it goes through the other side as we see his tongue get cut out as some of it is hanging out.
Damn.
And then see, it's Austin as he kills the guys like they're nothing and says, hey stranger, sorry about the bad luck, sir. Here, let me help you. As he helps Ryan up, and Ryan is flinching, and Austin says, yeah, they did you over pretty good, huh? Here, have a seat. I got some painkillers in my bag. It ain't much, but it may help. Ryan says, thanks. He gives Ryan a sip of water and says, so, you from around here? Ryan says, look, I appreciate everything you've done for me. I do. But I got somewhere I need to be. Austin says, hey, you're in no position to go anywhere right now. You're barely on your feet as it is. Ryan says, look, no, you don't understand. My wife is in labor. She tried to contact me on the walkie, but they fucking destroyed it. Austin says, all right, I'm gonna help you get back to your wife, okay? Make sure both of you are okay. Then we'll go our separate ways. No hard feelings, okay? Ryan looks at him and asks,
Can I ask you an obvious question?
Austin turns around and Ryan says,
Why do you give a shit about me? You just met me, for Christ's sake.
Austin says,
Because we gotta be human beings. And based off the state of the state, it appears to me that we're running low on those. Don't you think?
he helps Ryan up as they both start heading back to the house.
Interesting.
As we see it starts to
Oh, it's a
rain,
pleasure
we
to
see
start.
Ryan, who's been badly beaten now, and Austin running down the road as fast as they can. As they hear thunder, Austin says, "How much further down?" Ryan says, "Just down the street." Ah! He grabs his side in pain, and Austin says, hey, slow down, okay? We'll get to her." Ryan says, "I ain't stopping until I know she's okay." He keeps running, and then they see the house from far as Ryan sees the fence down, and now he's in a huge panic. As he sees several dead surrounding the house, Ryan looks worried and says, "My wife, she's in there!" Ryan pulls out his shovel and starts killing one after another. As we see Ryan and Austin stand side by side, and Ryan is fighting his way in. As he tries to get to his wife, we see the door gets kicked in as Ryan and Austin make their way inside. They go through the house, killing several deadheads that are inside. As he's yelling, Honey, are you here?" We hear her from upstairs saying, "Ryan, I'm up here." They make a clearing and make it upstairs and block off the rest of the dead from getting upstairs with the couch. We then see she's in horrible pain as she's laying on the bed, shaking, and Ryan runs up to her and says, "Oh my God, are you okay? You're not bit, right? You're not bit?" No, I'm not bit." Amelia smiles and says, "I'm fine. I'm just happy you're here." Ryan then realizes she's going into labor and says, "Is it?" Amelia says, "I think it's time." Austin looks outside to see several more deadheads piling up in the house. Austin says, "We may not have much time." Amelia says, ah. Ryan holds her and says, "Shh, it's okay. Just breathe, okay? 1, 2, 3. That's it. It's all right. Amelia says, I got a question. As we then see her pushing, Austin says, "Oh boy, never thought I'd see this today." Ryan says, "You're doing great. I can see it." Amelia keeps pushing, and Ryan says, "Oh my God, it's a boy." She keeps pushing as we see him get pushed out. Austin says, I'll grab some blankets from the closet." But as he goes to do that, Ryan is checking on the baby, but we don't hear her crying. Amelia says, "What's going on? Why isn't he crying? Brian, look at me." Ryan turns around and says,
I don't.
We reveal it's a stillborn, and the baby is dead. Amelia holds her dead baby in her arms, and Austin sees this. As they all say absolutely nothing, as they all stand there in shock, Ryan then hears the dead from downstairs and looks pissed as he walks out of the room and goes down there and lets all of his anger out. As we see him walk down there and he starts killing one after another, as we see tears going down his face, we see him clear every last one of those deadheads as he kills the last few and drops to his knees as he breaks down and sits there in disbelief.
Damn.
One day later, we see all the dead bodies being burned as we see Ryan, Amelia, and Austin standing there watching all the deadheads burn. We then see they all bury the baby as we see them all standing around his grave. As we see Amelia looks disgusted and broken. Later that night, we see them all sitting at the kitchen table in the dark, and Austin starts getting his stuff and he says, "I left you guys some rations in the pantry, enough to last you a while. I gotta get back home. My folks are gonna wonder where I am." Ryan says, "All right,
He hugs him and says, I don't hug somebody unless I truly appreciate them. You saved me. You saved my wife. You helped save us both. Thank you. Austin says, it's no problem. Just because the world ain't what it used to be, we can't forget about what's still around. It's the people. And those lives that are still around, they matter now more than ever. He starts walking away, and then he turns around and says, look, I know you both are dealing with a lot, and you're probably not in the right mindset to be making any big decisions right now, but you can come with me, you know. Ryan looks up, and Austin says, I can talk to my leader. I can convince them into letting you stay, both of you. But from a small camp, it's nothing too impressive, but it's something. And considering all that you've both been through, I think a change of scenery would do you both some good, if that's something you'd be interested in. They both look unsure, and Ryan says, you take people in? Austin says, we do. And I'd say you two definitely earned it. Amelia says, we can't stay here. I can't. Not now. Ryan says, babe, are you sure? Amelia says, the only thing I'm sure of is a fresh start, and that's all I want. Ryan looks at Austin and says, all right, we're in. Austin says, all right, well, I'll give you guys a chance to get your things. Ryan then looks at Amelia and says, hey, are you sure about this? Amelia says, yes, this will be good for us, and we'll have people. This is what we both need right now. Ryan kisses her and says, okay, all right, let's do it. We then see them going to the garage, as Austin says, nice ride. Ryan says, belonged to my pop. We rebuilt this thing together, me and him. I got it a few years ago before he died. I swore I'd never use it, but here we are. They then get in and start driving away from the house, as they then leave part of their life behind for good.
Nice. I like that case go.
As we see them traveling the roads, we see they're on their way there, and Ryan says, how far out? Austin says, just a few more miles. Ryan pulls over and says, we'll walk from here. We see them walking down these train tracks, as Austin says, almost there. Ryan says, so how many people do you have? Austin says, we're 52 now. We hunt when we can hunt, we let people in, but we also kill if we need to. Ryan says, wait, you've had to kill people that have crossed into your land? Austin says, not necessarily, but we've had to turn people away before. Ryan says, Austin says, what? Ryan says, I've never had to kill anybody before. Austin says, yeah, it's a brutal world, my friend. In order to survive it, you must do the unspeakable sometimes, no matter how ugly it is. I saw how you fought to get to your wife in time. When you're trying to protect the ones you love, you don't think about the ones you kill. You think about the ones you kill for. They then see multiple people come out of the woods with guns, as we then see them surrounding Austin and the rest, and Austin says, hey, guys, it's me. We see James comes out of the bushes and says, welcome back, fuckface, you were gone more than a week. We thought you died by this point. Austin says, sorry about that. I was just helping these folks. James says, and who the fuck are these guys? Austin says, James, this is Ryan and his wife Amelia. I've been helping them out. James says, well, that's fucking lovely, but we're currently not looking for more raiders at the moment. You know that family that we took in about a month ago, Austin? Austin nods and James says, yeah? Well, last night they hijacked over half of our rations and took off in the dead of night. I told you we couldn't trust that family, but you insisted that we let them in now, didn't you? Then you run off to save, what the fuck is this guy's name again? Ryan says, you heard my name, asshole. I'm not here to take your shit. We're just looking for a home there, buddy. James says, deny. Good luck out there. Austin says, James! James turns around and says, my mind's made up. Put your dogs back where you found them. Ryan looks like he wants to start a fight, and then we hear someone come in on a horse.
As they ride in, we see it's Ashley. Ashley says, "What the hell is going on here, James?" James says, "Austin's trying to let new fuckheads in while we've already got raiders on the loose with all of our shit." Ashley says, "Raiders? Well, as far as I recall, you were the one on guard duty last night, and it looks like someone wasn't doing their fucking job, now doesn't it? You know, it's really unfair to judge people without even knowing who the hell they are." Ashley walks up to them and says, "You'll have to excuse my brother. He's a bit of a hothead." Ryan says, "Yeah, I can see that." Ashley says, "You two look like you could use some hospitality." Amelia says, "More than you can imagine." "Thank you." Ashley says, "Yeah, don't mention it. I'm Ashley." Ryan says, "I'm Ryan. This is my wife, Amelia." Ashley says, "Well, it's great to meet both of you." Again, I'm sorry for the introduction. "Keith, can you escort these two to a new trailer? We got a free one for both of you to stay in." Ryan and Amelia go with them. As Ashley hangs back, and James says, "Well, there's two more fucking mouths to feed." Ashley says, "Yup, and we will." "We got robbed. Big deal. Doesn't mean everybody's like that. James, if we're not here for people, what the hell are we even here for, big brother?" As we see her walk away, as we see James looks pissed.
I don't care about your asshole. I'm sorry, I don't like James.
Keith leads them into a new trailer. As Keith says, "This is yours." They enter and he says, "We got fresh clothes for you both, food, water, even some reading material for them slow times. But I hope this will suffice." Amelia says, "More than you can imagine." Keith says, "Great. Well, if you need anything, don't hesitate to come find me, alright?" Ryan says, "Thanks, Keith." He walks out and Ryan and Amelia sit at the little table. And Ryan says, "So what do you think?" Amelia says, "It's nice. We got the river right down there. It's quiet, guarded. Honestly, think this will work." Ryan says, "Yeah. I could have done without that one girl's brother, though, earlier today. I'll tell you that." Amelia says, "What, do you think he's going to be a problem?" Ryan says, "I hope not." The next day, we see Ryan and Amelia sleeping. As Ryan is getting up, we see a few marks on his back from fighting those deadheads. As he washes his face with water, he puts on a new shirt and walks outside. Austin walks up to Ryan and says, "Good day, sir." He gives him coffee and says, "Hopefully 2 sugar will work." Ryan says, "I'll take it. It's cold at this rate." "Thanks." Austin asks, "So how are you guys settling in?" Ryan says, "Fine. I think we'll definitely make this place work." Ashley walks up to them and says, "Morning, guys." Austin says, "Morning." Ashley says, "So how's the place treating you, Ryan?" Ryan says, "It's great. Beautiful view from up here, too, I must say." Ashley says, "Well, you boys down to go out on a hunt? Me and Austin do this usually every morning." Ryan says, "Sure, I'll tag along." Later on, we see them walking through the woods, and Austin says, "So what did you do, Ryan, before all this?" Ryan says, "I was the head security guard at the airport. I made a decent living overall. My wife was a realtor. She was a damn good one, too." Austin says, "So you think you'll stay?" Ryan says, "Only if I'm wanted." Ashley says, "Oh, you're wanted. My brother and I lead this camp 50-50. It gives the people a mix of hope and leadership." Ryan says, "Well, I definitely see the leadership part in you." Ashley says, "Oh, I'm no leader. My brother definitely has more of that type of attitude, and it helps the place survive. I'm just helping him out. I only wish my other brother was still here. He was a true leader." Ryan says, "Your other brother? Is he still alive?" Ashley says, "I have no idea. When everything went bad, I checked on his house, and no one was there." Austin says, "He's out there." "He is." Ashley says, "I hope so." Ryan says, "Well, I hope I get to meet him someday." They then see a deer in the distance.
Killing me.
They slowly walk closer as Austin pulls out the rifle and shoots and kills it. And Ashley says, "Nice. There's a few meals right there." Austin says, "Anyway, we're glad to have you." Ryan says, "Well, besides James, this place seems pretty perfect to me." Austin says, "Well, I wish that was true." Ryan says, "What do you mean?" Austin says, "Only me, Ashley, James, and 2 of the other patrols know about this, but last month, 2 of ours had a bad encounter with a group called the Outlaws." Ryan says, "The Outlaws?" Austin says, "Yeah, they killed 2 of our men for crossing into their territory. We haven't seen or heard from them since."
Ryan says, so they just killed the two of you just like that? Ashley says, that's this life for you. People want what you have. People are territorial and all kinds of other crazy shit. Ryan says, well, you folks definitely have been through it. I can see that now. Austin says, as have you. The world is just unfair sometimes. Back at camp, we see Ryan walks up to Amelia and says, hey babe, sorry for taking so long. We're out there on that hunt. Amelia says, it's alright. Plus side, the food is really good here. People are friendly too. Ryan says, yeah, most of them. Amelia says, hey, let it go. That James guy did give us a place to live after all. Ryan says, Ashley gave us a place to live. I'll keep my mouth shut about it, but I don't trust this fucking guy. Amelia says, well, I've been talking to some people. Patrols are saying that there's this group of samurai people that have been lurking in the shadows lately. They hope that they'll just move on, but they're not sure. Ryan says, you don't think we're safe here? Amelia doesn't say anything as they keep eating. Later that night, Ryan is walking. As he's looking out to the river, we hear footsteps. As Ryan is spooked, we see James standing behind him as he says, nice evening. Ryan looks on edge, and James says, you know, I overheard your little conversation with your wife earlier about you wanting a different leader. Ryan says, oh, no, I wasn't talking about. James says, I don't care. You see, I know I can't trust you. I know you don't like me much, but let's get one thing straight. This is my camp. And if you don't like any of my rules, there's the door, bitch. Ryan says, well, you and Ashley make the decisions around here, and she wants us to stay. So take it up with her, not me. James says, her? She's not leading this shit. I make the hard calls around here, and all I do is tolerate my sister's choices. Doesn't mean I agree with them. And as for you, I got my eye on you. If you try something funny, I'll know. He starts walking away, and Ryan tries stopping him, and James pulls out a knife and says, say you understand. Ryan says, I understand. They then go their separate ways as we see tensions run high. We see Ashley and Austin doing a nightly patrol around the camp. As Ashley says, damn, nights are getting colder. Austin says, yeah, really need to find a new place, at least till the cold weather comes to an end. Ashley says, there's a few spots nearby the area, although they're shit pits. They see a big gust of fog coming in, as we then hear something catches their attention, as Austin looks out with his binoculars, and then he sees a big group of vipers heading down towards the camp. Ashley panics and pulls out her walkie and says, James, are you there? I repeat, James, are you there? James picks it up and says, yes, I'm here. What's going on? Ashley says, I'm gonna need you to get extra defenses at the entrance. There's a huge group of assassins coming right now. James then sees a big explosion go off as multiple of his people get killed. We hear screams as Ryan and Amelia run out to their trailer to see what's going on. As we see dead bodies all around, we see more explosions going off. As we see people running for their lives. Amelia says, we gotta get to the armory. Ryan says, go, I'm right behind you. We see Keith laying there, badly hurt. As he's bleeding out, Ryan says, hey, you're gonna be okay, alright, man? We gotta get you out of here, alright? We see him helping Keith up, as Ryan says, alright, we can make it through the... Keith gets shot in the head and goes down. We then see Miles standing there with a gun, as Ryan looks pissed and fires back. But then, there is so much fog that they can't see what's in front of them. Miles loses Ryan as Ryan runs to the armory, and he's yelling, are you in here? Amelia! Are you in here? He then sees everyone in the armory has been killed as he's looking through the dead bodies, trying to see if she's one of them. He doesn't find her, and he looks relieved. As more Vipers are coming, he walks outside into the fog and smoke. As more are getting killed, Ryan then sees the camp is completely obliterated. As more Vipers are coming, he runs away from the camp before they kill him too.
killed doing that. James was a leader. Actually, has a lot more understanding of Vipers. Back when Miles was a Viper. Oh, yeah. A lot going on here. Go on, dude. Still working good? Damn, that'll be okay. Concern me there for a second. Alright, that's good, that's good, that's good. Whew. Damn, a lot of consuming. Ugh. Jesus. I hate James. I don't think you're gonna get me to like him. Working perfectly, that's good. That's good. I wanted to catch up on your messages because he had a lot. That's the baby dying. That's mind blowing. I will say. I did not. That's wow. That is that's dark. It's dark. That is dark. I will say, damn. That's supposed to be estimates of change for Iron Dome Treasure. Well, I'm sure there might be some that might like him, maybe. You always have those people. Iron Dome Treasure guy. Yeah, I'm getting that side of him. I don't think you're gonna get me to like him, but I might be more understanding. I will say. Listen, you got lucky with Dave. All right, you got lucky with fucking Dave. But with Ryan, I don't know. Yeah, with Ryan, man, I don't know. I don't think this is gonna be a day situation. Let's see. You see the rest of it. Listen. It's gonna take a lot, man. It's gonna take a lot. I'm gonna say that. It's gonna take a lot. I'm not gonna be forgiving. You know, I will say, the Dave one, you got me. But then again, he didn't help kill my homie. I mean, he was trying to. However, he changed. That's the difference. With Ryan, on the other hand, he didn't change. He killed my homie. Or he helped make it happen. And that was not a character I thought was gonna die. Even if it was meant for the story. Still, I don't think that's something you can come back on. Yes. Well, maybe. Yeah. That's a possibility, so, we will see. Care about your damn I care about you. Have an update. yeah, I don't know. It's gonna take a lot, man. It's it's gonna take a lot more than Dave. I think with Dave it was more forgiving. But with Ryan, I don't know. It's gonna take a lot, you know. It's gonna take a lot, but I'll give him a chance. We will see. But I don't know. Yeah, he does seem nice up to this point. At this moment, I'm liking him, but I know what his ending result is. So I don't know. So we will see. But that definitely hurt bringing up Lincoln though. That definitely hurt. I'm not gonna lie about that one. The baby dying though, that really that is a mind blower. I'm not gonna lie about that. That is like a damn. I mean, they didn't even try hitting it in the back. You know what I mean? Because I know you do have to do that with babies, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe they just could tell that it was already dead. Maybe I don't know. I just was surprised they didn't try that. But maybe they did figure out. Ashley seems nice for understanding and open. I don't have a problem with Ashley. Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point. That is a good point. Damn. It's deep, I will say. It is very deep. Lot to consume. Damn. I will say it's decent. I will say it's decent. You and that smiley face. I'll say it's decent.
Ryan is running through the woods. As he stops to take a breath for a minute, he starts crying in fear that Amelia is dead. As he breaks down, we then hear a gun click behind him. As we see, James comes up behind him and says, "Well, ain't it a fucking coincidence? Everything was going perfectly fine in our camp until not even 2 days later, everyone dies, the place is shot to shit, and I lose my people. And I bet those raiders we had was planted by you too, huh? And you and your wife were just coming to finish the job." Ryan says, No, please, that wasn't. "Bullshit," James says, and Ryan says, "I didn't do this. I just want to find my wife. Please let me go." James says, "Nope, and if your wife is alive, I'll make sure to bury her in the mud right next to you." How's that sound? Ryan looks pissed as James pulls the trigger and it clicks, revealing it's empty. Ryan then sees his chance and knocks the gun out of his hands. Ryan draws a knife as he swings at him. James then kicks him to the ground and says, "I'll kill you for this!" Ryan then stabs him as James then screams. Ryan kicks James off of a cliff and into the river. Ryan watches him fall into the river and he says, "Swim like a dog, you son of shit."
Well, that was satisfying, I will say. What a piece of
3
shit, though.
months later.
Damn.
It's the middle of the night. We see 4 deadheads are eating a deer. We then see Ryan running through the woods as fast as he can. He looks terribly dehydrated as he falls to the ground. He's on the ground as he looks like he wants to give up. Then he sees deadheads are walking up to him, and he panics. He pulls out his gun and shoots one of them. He then is out of ammo. The other three are about to feast on him, but then, out of nowhere, all are stabbed in the head by a fearless woman. The woman takes off her mask. As we see, it's Julia. She looks at Ryan and says, "You okay?" Ryan looks scared, and the girl says, "I'm not gonna hurt you." She gives him her hand and says, "I'm Julia."
Huh. What? Oh. Wait.
Bishop says, and that's how I met the Vipers. Luke says, your wife. Did you ever find her? Bishop says, I didn't find. Luke says, oh yeah, that's right, I don't give a fuck. Bishop punches him in the face and he falls to the floor and says, you should listen, especially to this part. Here's your grand entrance. Luke looks pissed and Bishop says, you remember what you did? All you did was run like a capper.
Then. Wait, is this a 4-part or is this a 3-part? Now you got me confused. 5 years ago.
5 years ago, before the Viper City attack,
Oh, what
we
money?
see Ryan sitting in a little apartment. We see the clock turns to 6 a.m. and Ryan walks up to the window as we see the city starting to light up and businesses starting to open for the day. We see him looking at an old picture and he says, baby, I haven't given up on you. I know you're still out there. You gotta fucking still be out there. When I eventually join these people and gain their trust, I will send my own teams out there day in, day out to find you. I promise you that. And we see him crying as we see the photo he's looking at is an old photo of Amelia. And he looks sad as he puts the photo away in his dresser. He walks into the kitchen and pours himself some coffee. We see him put on the best outfit he could find from the place as he walks out.
3-part episode, but the episode has
We see
chapters.
Ryan
Oh, okay.
walking the streets as we see Julia walking towards him from a distance. Julia is walking the streets and we see Ryan says, hey. Julia says, hey, how are you settling in so far? Ryan says, well, I've got asked to join the Viper military. When your mom heard about what I could do out there, me against the dead, and all the experience around them, she wanted me to become a sergeant. So I'm going through a training this afternoon. And Julia says, what kind of training? Ryan says, don't know yet. But you should know, I mean, that's your mother. Julia says, oh, my mom doesn't tell me anything about that. She says it's her job and that I shouldn't be involved. And Ryan says, well, anyway, want to get some breakfast? Julia says, sure, it's on me. And Ryan says, once I'm working, I'll pay you back. And Julia says, oh, it's no problem. You're new here. Come on, let's go. We see them sitting at a table, and Julia says, thanks for coming. You know, a lot of people don't really like to be approached by me because I'm her daughter. Ryan says, it's no problem. Besides, you saved my life the other day. Besides, I never turned down good food. We cut to them eating, and Julia asks him, so Viper training, huh? Ryan says, yeah, it's a 2-week training program. You know, I figured this place saved me. Might as well pay them back somehow. Julia says, well, I wish you luck today. Although, just to give you a bit of a heads up, Kate can be a bit of a pain in the ass. Ryan says, it's alright. Strict rules around here. I get it. I'm sure you know that better than anyone here. Julia says, yeah. Yeah, I do. So you holding up okay? I'm sure you miss your people. Ryan says, it's been hard, for sure.
Oh,
A few months
307,
ago, when my
yeah.
camp was attacked, I told my wife that we weren't safe. A
307.
few patrols caught wind about some of these assassins scoping around the area, but our leader just decided to avoid them. But I knew it was a matter of time before they attacked. He looks sad and says,
our leader let his guard down. And in the middle of the night, those assassins came in and attacked us. Me and my wife were trying to get to the armory. I told her to go for the guns, and I tried to save a few of my men that were fighting off some of these assassins, but we got separated. My men died anyway. I tried to find my wife Amelia, but I got to the armory, and all those men were dead. But my wife wasn't one of them. And 3 months later, I still haven't found her body. Julia says, "You think she's still alive?" Ryan says, "Oh, I know she's alive. I just didn't want to tell you about her because I didn't know if you were legit or not." Julia says, "No, I get it. There's things that my mom keeps secret too. She says it's for my own good." So she says. Ryan says, "Your mom seems like a very smart lady." The waiter comes up to both of them and says, "Is everything to your liking?" Ryan says, "Oh, my goodness, sir. This is the best damn breakfast I've had in years. Great job." The waiter says, "Oh, well, I'm delighted to hear that. If you need anything else at all, feel free to call me over." Ryan says, "Will do." Ryan looks at Julie and says, "Damn, I love this place." We cut to them leaving the restaurant and going their separate ways. We see over 20 people jogging around a huge circle. As we see, Ryan is one of them. We see he looks terribly out of breath as he looks to be slowing down compared to the others. We then see Cade sounds the alarm and says, "And time!" Ryan falls to the ground out of breath, and Cade sees Ryan and doesn't look impressed. We see Cade hold him over to the side and says, "Alright, what's got you all shook up? Huh?" Ryan says, "Nothing. Just, I'm not used to this type of shit." Cade says, "Well, you can't be fighting like that." Ryan says, "Well, maybe I'm not cut out for this. You ever think about that?" Cade says, "Yeah, maybe you're not. Maybe you're just a worthless waste of air. We've had our share of those in here. Maybe you'll never make it. Maybe you're a damn good fighter, but your mind is elsewhere. Am I right?" Ryan doesn't really answer, and Cade says, "You know, I've been doing this martial arts shit for over a decade. I've seen all kinds of people, from selfish to kind to dirtbags to cocky, hell, you name it. So I have a pretty good idea when someone really isn't all that good. And you know what I see when I look at you? Someone that knows their shit, but chooses to not go all the way with it. Why?" Ryan still doesn't answer, and Cade says, "It's fine. I got all day here." Ryan says, "I lost my wife a while back. We were in a horrible fight. We got separated. Now, every moment I'm awake, she's stuck in my head. It's the unknowing that's killing me. It's just too crazy." Cade says, "Too crazy? You want to hear too crazy? I meet some woman naming herself the Queen. She gives me a job offer. I turn it down because I have a family that I need to raise. 2 days later, my wife is killed by a group of bandits, and I come home that day broken, trying to figure out how to tell my kids their mother is dead. Then when I get home, both of my kids were slaughtered. I have nothing. I have no family and no purpose. So the one thing I decide to do to keep my head afloat is to call this queen bitch and ask her if the offer still stands." Which, then she let me join pretty much instantly. And after all this time here, I stand. No wife, no kids. Now that is crazy. Now, Queen Lindsay herself put in a good word for you, so I'll continue to put some faith in you in return. Ryan says, I'm sorry. Cade says, "Don't be sorry. Pick up your weapon, go back out there, and make it through this week. And I assure you, there's a lot more crazy that's on its way." Cade gives the sword back to Ryan, and Ryan takes it.
Damn. Okay, yeah, interesting.
We see Lindsay sitting at a very fancy desk as she's sitting there writing stuff down. And we hear a knock at her door, and she says, "Come on in." Ryan walks in and says, "Well, hello, Queen Lindsay. I don't mean to bother you." Lindsay says, "Oh, no. It's okay. It's no problem. Please, sit." Lindsay says, "Can I get you something?" Water, wine, coffee, tea? Ryan says, sure, I'll have a tea. Lindsay says, Delta, 2 teas, please. As Delta walks off, Ryan says, well, thank you. I just thought I'd come by and properly thank you for putting in a good word for me out there. Lindsay says, well, I figured you needed it. Cade doesn't usually trust a single soul I put out there. And my daughter thought you had something real special about you. And a mother has trust in her daughter's judgment, at least every once in a while, I suppose. Ryan says, that makes sense. Delta serves them their tea, and Ryan says, thank you. I haven't had a good tea in a long time. This place truly has everything. Lindsay says, well, everything comes at a price. Ryan asks, how so? Lindsay smiles and says, let me make it simple. In this life, everything is your own. Everything you have eventually will belong to someone else. And that is the very motive that makes this place thrive. Ryan says, what do you mean, taking? From others? Lindsay says, no one is actually kind. You can have all the fancy furniture you want, all the nice talks and tea parties you want, but you have to fight for it. That's why we need people like you to help defend places like this. Help it thrive more than it already is. Ryan says, by taking shit from others, huh? He smirks and says, well, ain't that fucking thoughtful of you. Lindsay says, do I sense second thoughts? Newcomer? Ryan takes a sip of his drink and says, I lived in a small camp with my wife not so long ago, and we had next to nothing for supplies. Barely scraping by. It's a miracle we got this far, honestly. But not once did we take from others. That's the coward way out. That's the selfish way out. And that is sure as shit not my way of doing things. Lindsay smiles and leans forward a bit and says, well then, Ryan, if that's how you see it, maybe this place isn't for you after all. Maybe my daughter made a mistake by letting you in here. It wouldn't be the first time she was wrong about someone. Ryan says, maybe you're right. Maybe I'm not the man you think I am. Just like maybe you're not the mother you say you are. Lindsay looks pissed and says, here's the deal, resident number 344. If you don't like the way I lead, or the way it works around here, then get out of my city. Ryan puts his drink down and very sarcastically says, well, it's been a fucking pleasure, my queen. As we see him walk out. Lindsay looks at Delta and says, well, looks like we're gonna have to keep an eye on him. As we see her smile and says, make sure our army is ready and that they're here. The outlaws are gonna be here soon.
Yeah, she's back. Good. Thankfully for a short time.
Later on, we see Ryan sitting in his apartment as we reveal several people talking in the streets as they're all walking in one direction. Ryan walks down to see this. As he sees the streets are clear, Ryan looks freaked out as we hear, do we have ourselves a Karen? Ryan turns around and we see Dave smoking a cigarette, and Ryan says, what the hell is going on? Dave says, all the residents are instructed to go inside the dungeon until this whole thing wraps up. The outlaws are almost here, so I suggest you do the same. Ryan says, no, I can fight. I've been training. I can do this. Dave asks, are you a sergeant? Ryan says, well, no, but I've been working on, that ain't a sergeant. Dave says, you're going down there with the others, buddy. Now don't make me escort you myself. Ryan says, fine, I'm going. Dave says, I better not see you again. Ryan laughs and turns around and says, see me again? The only way you should be scared is if you see me up here again. For all you know, you may just be looking at a ghost. He walks away as we see Dave walking the streets, as we hear the horn go off. As he picks up the walkie and says, this is Dave Miller. Lincoln, do you copy? Lincoln picks it up and says, Dave? Oh my God, you're still alive, man, thank God. Dave laughs and says, of course I am, and I plan for it to stay that way tonight too. Listen, you ready? Lincoln says, we're approaching the gates now. Ryan is walking towards the dungeon. As he then sees something that catches his eye, we see a kid sitting at a window on the top floor of one of the apartment buildings. We hear the alarm going off. As we can see, there's not much time left. Ryan can't leave the kid up there on his own, so he enters the building. He runs up these stairs trying to get to them in time. He then knocks at the door and says, "Hey, I know there's someone in there, open up." As he then uses a tactic to get them to open the door. "This is Sergeant Ryan, I'm gonna bust this door down in 10 seconds if you don't cooperate." The door then opens as we then see a mother and her child. As the woman says, "You're not a sergeant." Ryan says, "No, I'm not. But I'm gonna tell you what they told you. There are bad people coming right now to hurt this place, and we are running out of time. Badly." The woman looks scared, and the kid says, "Grandma?" We then see there's an older lady that is sitting in the chair and barely conscious, and her grandson is by her side, and the woman says, "My mother is sick. She probably only has 2 days left at the most. But I can't move her, and I'm not leaving her behind." Ryan doesn't know what to say as he sees this dying woman and this young boy, and the woman says, "Just go. Act like you didn't see us. Please. Maybe these outlaws won't find us." Ryan says, "You can't bet on that. Look, I gotta get you out of here. We gotta go, and we gotta go now." The woman says, "I can't just leave my mother. I can't." Ryan says, "Look, I'm sorry. I really am. I know this is an impossible call to make, but if you want your boy to live, we have to go now." We then hear a huge explosion from outside. Ryan looks out the window scared and says, "Look, I know it ain't easy, but please, please, let me get you to safety." The woman and the kid are crying as she then kisses her mother on the forehead and says, "Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Please understand why I had to do this. Please. Understand why I had to do this." Ryan is looking emotional as he says, "Come on, kid, don't look." The kid is crying as we then see them get their things as they have no other choice for her kid's life to leave her dying mother behind. As they quickly are running down this big flight of stairs, they are trying to get down in time. We then see them running out of the lobby as they run out into the streets together, as we then see behind them the military with guns are marching down the streets, clearing everybody they see. Ryan says, "This way, this way." They take a left as they back up against the building, and Ryan says, "Go, I'll buy you some time to get away." The woman says, No, we can get there together." Ryan says, "No, we won't make it. Go down King Street. You keep going until you see an old dungeon. Go in there and stay until this is all over. You can make it, I know you can. I'll hold them off for you. I'll buy you enough time to get away." She says, "You'll die." Ryan says, "I know. Now go." The woman cries as she takes her kid and runs for her life. Ryan then sees the military are getting closer. He pulls out his gun. He then sees he's got 2 magazines left, and he smiles and says, "I'm sorry, Amelia." He starts firing back at the soldiers and shoots and kills 3 of them on the spot. He then fires back as we then see he runs out to an old barber shop and he runs for cover. We then see Luke says to Roger, "You keep going, I'll get this fucker." Roger says, "All right, we're going to circle around, all right?" They split off. As Ryan then sees he's only got a few bullets left, Luke sees him inside as they fire back and forth at each other. Ryan then runs out of bullets and starts running out back trying to get away. We then see even more buildings are blowing up in front of him. As he's trying to find a place to go, he then runs into the apartment building and goes up to the top floor and locks himself in. We then see the old woman is still breathing, and Ryan says, "I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I couldn't save you. I'm sorry I couldn't save my wife. Austin, Ashley. I'm ready. I'm ready to join them." He hears Luke running up the stairs, and he quickly backs up against the wall and says, "But if I'm going down tonight, he's going down too." He stands there with his knife ready, and Luke walks in to see the old woman. He stands there, not sure what to do, as we then see Ryan comes up behind Luke and pushes him to the ground. Luke's helmet then flies off as he looks at Ryan face to face as Luke says, "Well, look at you, a viper till the end, huh?" Ryan says, "I'm just defending innocence." Luke says, "These people are monsters. They killed children. They slaughtered towns. That's all they are. Nothing more." And Ryan says, "And what the fuck are you doing?" Luke realizes he has a point, but then he swings at him anyway. Luke says, "I have orders. You all die tonight. That was the plan, and that's what I'm gonna do." Ryan says, "I don't go down easy, so looks like your military pals are gonna be one other man short." They then swing back and forth at each other as Luke pushes Ryan down and throws the knife at him. But then Luke accidentally misses, and the knife hits the old woman right in the throat as she bleeds out and dies. Luke looks horrified at himself and says, "What the fuck have I done?" Ryan gets up and tries killing him. Luke then fights back as they keep fighting. They knock a lantern off the table. As we then see they're fighting, we see the fire starting to spread all over the floor. We then see the flames are getting bigger, but then Luke then pushes Ryan into the fire as Luke then opens up the door and says, "Rotten hell with the rest of your vipers." Luke blocks off the door with a shelf so he can't get out, and he runs out of the building as he pulls out a grenade and throws it onto the bottom floor. As part of the building blows up and Luke spits out some blood. Then we hear Roger radios him saying, "Hey buddy, you with me?" Luke says, "I'm here." Roger says, "We could really use your help down here." Luke looks disgusted by his actions and says, "I'm on my way." He runs back to his people and leaves Ryan to die. And now we see the burns on Bishop's face, and Luke says, "I didn't want to kill that woman. It was an accident." Bishop says, "You did what you did. But you know what? I wouldn't have cared if that family at least got out." Luke says, "And what happened to the mother and son?" Bishop says, No. You are in no position to be asking questions. I'm talking, and your job is to sit there until I'm done." Luke says, "So you survived, even after all that?" Bishop says, "Barely." 5 years ago, we see one of his legs is burned up. As he screams out in pain, the fire is spreading. He runs to the sink and uses the hose and points it to himself and sprays it on himself to try to take the fire out and save himself. He then tries opening the door and he can't get it open. The smoke is all around the building as we then see him coughing. He then is trying to find an exit. We see the burn marks on his face, his arm, and on one of his legs. He then runs out to the balcony as he sees how far down the drop really is. And then he uses the fire escape to start going down. Luke says, "Did you make it?" Bishop says, "I almost did. I managed to make myself down to the 3rd floor. But then, the building blew up." We see the building blow up as Ryan is thrown off the fire escape and falls to the ground. He hurts his leg as he looks pissed and slowly starts getting up, and he stands there just looking at the fire. Bishop says, "I didn't really know how I survived, but that came later." We see Ryan limping bad as he's walking through the streets and he's struggling to survive. We then see all the burn marks on him as we see some of his face is messed up. He then sees multiple dead bodies of families and vipers all burned up, and they're just laying there dead. And Ryan looks pissed, and then he picks up one of the viper swords off one of their corpses, and he puts the sword over his shoulder as we then see his sword that he has originally was a viper sword. We see very few people are still alive, as mostly everyone is now dead. As we then see down the road, Lindsay and a few of her men that are still alive are getting ready to leave. As Ryan is limping, as he says, hey, please, let me come with you." And Lindsay walks up to him, and she sees how hurt he is, and she says, "Huh, Well, what use are you to me now? She smiles and takes off with her vipers. As they escape the city, Lindsay rides off, and we see Ryan is left behind to die. We then see the sun coming up. As we then see the battle is over. We then see the burned up city as Ryan is limping down the road. He sees Lindsay's main office building as he then walks inside. He goes up to the stairs as he sees blood going up the stairs. This being Lindsay's blood after Julia shot her. We see he then walks up to the door and he pulls out his sword as he enters. He then sees all of the heads on the shelf as we then see everyone lined up. Ryan then sees Austin's head is one of them and starts crying as he starts connecting the pieces. And now he's realizing that it was the Vipers who attacked the camp the whole time. And they may have killed Amelia and the others as well. As he looks pissed and says, "I'm so sorry, brother. I'm so fucking sorry. I didn't know. I'm so sorry I didn't know." He pulls out a lighter and wants to burn it down to the ground. But just by pulling out a lighter, he's getting a lot of anxiety just by a flame. He then puts his lighter away and then starts to walk out of the building. As we see him walking out into the abandoned streets, as we see him walking past all the dead men, he then sees the woman and her son. As we see the woman is badly burned, confirming they didn't make it in time. We see her holding her dead son's dead corpse as she is crying, as she is saying, "Please, don't leave us like this. Don't leave us like this. I want to be with my boy. I just want to be with my boy." He pulls out his gun as she then says, Lincoln West, you find him and you make that monster pay. Please, don't let him get away with this. He looks at them and he sees how hurt they are. He sees the burns on himself as well. And then he clicks the gun and shoots her in the head and ends her life. Bishop then stands over them and says,
I promise, if it's the last thing I do, he will pay.
We then see him walking out of the burned city. As we see he leaves that part of his life behind for good.
Damn, you're using the Walking Dead music. Damn.
Bishop says, "I think this calls for a drink." We then see them walking into a little bar that Bishop has set up, and he says,
Impressive, isn't it? Let's get you a drink. What do you take?
Luke looks nervous, and Bishop says,
Aye, the words just not go a long way anymore. What will you take?
Luke says,
I'll go for a gin on the rocks, if you have it.
we see Bishop makes it, as we see them sitting there all alone, and Bishop says,
This place really is something. You know, it used to be a World War II bunker. Back in the 1950s, there was a few built nearby the area, awaiting for the end of everything. But when the rumors on the news about this virus of people coming back from the dead started happening, people then started using these again in preparation. I used to be head of the security group. I had ties to a good few people. One of them was a good friend of mine. He was a pastor. Sometimes I'd volunteer down at his church, and I was practically his wingman. He was a good guy. When I arrived here, he was running things. He took me in.
and Luke says, yeah, and how'd this become yours? How'd you get all your sheep to follow your every move? Bishop says,
Well, that's what I was about to get to next.
up to that. Wow. Okay. Ryan does things the right way unlike she usually. They've already met him when he was a spy. Ryan's perspective man. And all that. But burn. That's the first portion. Jesus. That was a lot. I ain't gonna lie. That was a lot. Wow. Oh, 26 minutes, my bad. That was the 17 minutes. Okay, so that's a bit. Oh, yeah, we're finished. Yeah, this was that. 36. 43. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Might just do yours and then call it good, actually. 4 hours of sleep, that doesn't that doesn't really sound reasonable. Damn. Well, it is what it is. If I gotta do that one episode later, it's fine. It's not the end of the world. It just means I only knock it down by one, but that's fine. That's what it is. Just means I'll try to do more tomorrow night. That's I'll trade that. Round through for sure. I was hoping to do this too. I don't like you seeing from different perspectives, damn it. No, I'm just kidding. I get why you do. So there. Lot of info. Lot of consumption. Wow. That's a lot. That's a lot to take in. Jesus. We're not 100% done. That's crazy. When's the next episode after that? Okay, that's a little bit better. We calm down a little. This is smidge. That's a little bit more talk. Even like on this next episode. Back to remainder, by the way. Right. 8.5 out of 10. I'll give it an 8.5. I did think it was pretty good. It was pretty decent, I will say. Despite being a different now. Oh. Well, that would explain. No. That would explain it. Why am I more? Yeah, it was a decent episode, I will say. I definitely got the perspective, and it was pretty decently told, I would say. I definitely see his perspective better. I will say that. At least so far with this episode. Still doesn't justify. Not for me. It still does not justify. Because even he saw them be bastards, you know. Now, in terms of the innocence, that part, I could agree. 100%. I don't knock him for that. Gooby. But in terms of the rest of them, fuck them. I mean, you know, I look at it as, hey, you know what I mean? You reap what you sow. That's what I look at it as. You reap what you sow. You know, if you really want to test people, then keep being stupid, and you're gonna test. You're gonna see how far they're willing to go, and in a lot of cases, it may not end great for you. You know, that's just the zombie violence. You know what I mean? Or make the better choice, and don't. See how far they can go, and I think you might do better. Huh? You know what I mean? So that's how I look at it. You know, because you know, if you saw those people, kind of got an idea of what the other group was going through, then I don't want to say they would see that perspective, but you know what I mean. I think they could see why they made those moves the way they did. So, you know, it's a tit for a tat, of course, but. Definitely custody records for that. His mind is for the same people who's trying to help. Everyone's going to someone else's story. That's fair. That's fair, but he thinks it solves the problem, but it doesn't solve the problem. That's the thing. Killing the one does not solve the problem. If you're gonna kill them, you gotta kill them all. It's as simple as that. If you don't, well, then the rest will come after you that way. So, I mean, you know what I mean? It's the violence doesn't end. That's, you know, he sees it in a different perspective. He thinks killing the leader solves it, but it doesn't solve it because the rest of them do the same thing. So, you know what I mean? So it doesn't solve the problem. It just makes it worse. Is all it does. So, but hey, okay. I mean, karma's a bitch. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that much. So, and karma always finds a way. So, you know, Bishop wasn't trying to solve it. He gave those people promise. You can say he was nice when I killed the rest of the group. That's true, but. Well, it was a good thing you didn't do that. I mean, in terms of keeping your show going, Mr. Dan. If we did that, I don't think the show would keep going. You know, I think your ending would be pretty. Your ending would be pretty quick, my friend. At least for me, okay? Because if you did that, that's my drive would end right there. No backstory will fix that, brother. My drive would die right there. The second they kill him is the second that I'm just like, yep, okay, that's it. Not enough interest. We go risky this season for sure. Yeah, well, I know that. I know that for a fact. But yeah, that's how I look at it. Like I said, you're lucky you got me. You build up quite a few characters, and their very strength, and I'm willing to move past the one that you killed, though it is not easy by any means. It is taking everything. I'm still not past it, but I'm pushing through it. And like I said, it's decent, I will say, so far. You know, episode 5 and 6 and 7 will really, see how much it draws me back in. I don't know if episodes 4 or the rest of 4 will really do it per se. But maybe. But yeah. Yeah, it's taking everything. It's taking everything. I'm not gonna lie. It's taking everything. It's taking everything, brother. But like I said, you have some strong characters, and that is making the difference for sure. That is making the difference. Because like I said, I gotta be, my interest has to be, my intrigue, my deepness, my love for the characters has to be there. You know what I mean? Otherwise, it just loses all meaning. The meaning just goes away, and I'm just like, oh, whatever. And my will to want to continue won't be there. And it'll be like Fear, where I'm just simply watching to see how shit it is. Not saying that your show would be anywhere near that. I doubt that, because you're good at writing, unlike the dweebs. They're not. Wait to see a group of 4 or 5. Gonna be a big episode. So part 1, what do you think of Ryan? Then we'll get this step aside. assuming pretty good. I will say it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah, I'll definitely say that for later, for sure. That extra sleep is mandatory. If the episode was an hour 22, I might consider, but being a longer episode, damn. Yeah. They told me it's hard to say he's a bastard after what he did. I still call him a bastard. I still call him a bastard. That doesn't change. However, I see a different perspective, and I'm more respectful on his decision. He's still a bastard. My reason for calling him does not change. I don't see these two episodes, or these two parts, changing that. At least I don't. I'll be shocked if it does. But I do not. But yeah, 8.5 out of 10. That was pretty good. I can't deny that it was good. It was good. And the music was beautiful. That I would definitely say. I like the fact that he used walking in music. That hurt. Bring back some feels, I ain't gonna lie. Okay. Here's, well, part 2, but part 3, technically, so whatever you want to. Yeah. The second part. I actually enjoyed it. Thank you.
4 years ago, 1 year after the Viper City, we see Ryan aimlessly walking on the roads. As we see time goes by, we see he's just barely scraping by out there. We then see him sleeping in the back of an old truck as he spends the night there. As we zoom out, we see someone is watching him from far. The next day, he walks out. As we see, it's a new day. He's walking the roads, as we then see a few deadheads down the road. He then takes out his sword and starts taking them out. But as he kills them, we then see something catches his eye down the road. He sees a woman down the road. She looks to be her, as we then see him slowly approaching her. As we see, it's Rivers. Rivers says,
Please, can you help me?
Ryan says,
Sure, here, take that.
he gives her some water, and about halfway he says,
That's enough. You from around here?
Rivers says,
I'm not.
I've been running for a while. After my boyfriend died, I've just been trying to find somewhere safe. Ryan says,
Well, I can promise you this. It ain't safe. Now take care. Find some shade.
he starts walking away, and then she says,
I'm sorry.
a few guys with guns come out of the woods. Ryan looks pissed as he turns around and sees Rivers, pulls a gun out too, and she says, I didn't want to do it this way, but people gotta eat. There's not much left of anything anymore, and I gotta feed my family. Ryan drops his bag of supplies and says,
Boy, I guess it ain't about people anymore after all.
they take his stuff, and one of the guys says,
We can't have you following us.
Ryan says, no, please don't. As they knock Ryan out. A few hours later, we see him laying in the rain as we see a blurry view of someone standing over him in the rain. as we then hear someone's voice saying, "That's Ryan. We're helping him. End of discussion," as Ryan passes out.
Rivers, yeah.
Back in Washington, D.C., River says, "I'm not proud of it, but me and my dad were hunters for our people, and we'd go out to look for food. And after a certain amount of time, whatever food was left, someone already had it. So my dad said, if you want it, you have to take it." Tom says, "It's a brutal world, Rivers." River says, "What? That's it? I thought you'd say that I was a monster and that it was fucked up what I did." Tom says, "Look, I'm not going to say what you did was right, but to survive this long, this many years, and still be breathing, you have to do unspeakable things sometimes." River says, "I never liked it. My dad forced me to do all this, and we needed supplies badly for our people." Tom says, "So how did it go wrong?" River says, "We crossed the wrong person." As we cut to that person, as we then see Ryan waking up. 4 years ago, Ryan wakes up in a clean bed. He looks around in this room to see neon lights all around. He then sees someone sitting in a chair next to him, as we hear, "Hey, you're awake." We see it's Ashley, and she looks happy to see him, and he says, Where am I?" Ashley says, "It's okay. Me and the man in charge of this place found you out there passed out in the rain. We brought you in. Apparently the leader of this place knows you." Ryan asks, "How did you survive? I thought you died last year at the camp." Ashley says, "I can say the same for you. No offense, you've looked better." Ryan smiles and says, "Did you see her? Amelia? Is she alive?" Ashley says, "No. I'm sorry, Ryan. Me and James escaped together. We barely got out alive. He was badly hurt when I found him. He said he was fighting off some of those assassins in the woods, and he was pushed into a big river. And after a while of him swimming down, I found him." Ryan then notices that James didn't tell her about their fight, and he says, "I found Austin." Ashley looks worried, and he says, "I was taken in by a group of people called the Vipers. They lived in a city. I was there for a while until the place was attacked by a group called the Outlaws. They killed everyone there. I got burnt up defending one of the families. Then when it was all over, I went through the city and I found one of the leader's prized possessions. They had heads of their victims that they had previously killed hanging up on a shelf. Austin was one of them." Ashley looks sad and starts breaking down, and she says, "I'm sorry you went through that. I only wish I could have been there to save him." Ryan says, "So how'd you get here?" Ashley says, "Me and James found this place a few weeks after the attack. These people in these neon masks showed up. They let us right in." Ryan says, "So, the leader knows who I am?" Ashley says, "Apparently so. I'm just glad that you're alive." Ryan says, "Yeah." He looks at himself in the mirror and says, "Yeah, me too." We see two men with neon masks coming into the room, and the other guy who says, "How's he doing?" Ashley says, "He's awake." As Ryan gets up and sees the leader as he walks in and says, "Hey, buddy. How you doing, you old fucker?" Ryan smiles as they hug, and Ashley smiles and says, "Glad we found you." Ryan looks at his friend and says, "Oh my God, how the hell are you still alive?" The guy says, "We got a lot of catching up to do, my friend." Later on, Ryan is walking through this place as he sees people working. He sees a cafeteria, he sees fancy rooms, and he can see that these people are well built up. We see a few people are saying, "Hey, Ryan! Hey, that's Ryan! That's him! Good to see you, Ryan!" He hears people cheering his name in the background as he nods and keeps moving. He then sees old photos of their lost ones on the wall, as it then shows Ryan that not everything is perfect here, and they have lost people. We see Ryan walks out of the bunker to the cave. As he is then walking out to the water, he then walks through the sand as the guy walks up to him and says, "So what do you think?" Ryan says, "Xavier, how the hell do you always manage to survive and get through these hard times so well? I mean, look at me, man. The outside world damn near killed me. And you? Hey, you've never looked better, buddy." Xavier laughs and says, "I got lucky, I guess. Back when the world went mad, me and the people from the church were trying to keep it together, help all the innocents that we could. But after a while, it got so bad that we had to leave. A lot of the people of the church didn't want to leave without you being present, or Amelia for that matter. But you and Amelia already fled, so we had nothing left. We all tried to escape until the army stopped us while we were trying to get out. They brought us here. They said they'd come later." Ryan says, "They didn't they?" Xavier says, "No. But there was supplies. Food, weapons, medicine, everything we needed to keep everyone alive. And with all the people at the church and all the newcomers, we're over 300 now. The infected definitely killed a decent amount of us at one point or another, but a lot of us survived." Ryan says, "I'm surprised they all still recognize me." Xavier says, "How could they not? I mean, you were literally looked as a hero before everything. You helped so many families that were struggling to pay their rent. You helped starving families and people in time of need. And the amount of lives that you changed in the time that you had at the church, everyone knew what kind of man you were. Hell, you were on the news for good behavior and kindness of others." Ryan says, "Yeah, things have changed since then, Xavier. I've had to do things I ain't proud of." Xavier says, "Haven't we all?" Xavier says, "Me and my apostles aren't perfect either. We've had to do things. But what keeps us in check is prayer. We still keep it up, even after all this time." Ryan says, "Even after all of this, you still keep it up?" Xavier says, "We do. We're probably some of the only ones that still pray in this world, but it keeps my people sane. And in the state of the world, and the way it is right now, we call ourselves the Apostles." Ryan says, "The Apostles, huh? Why is that?" Xavier says, "Because we take chances on people. We save the lives that we can. We have faith in people. And we're doing the Lord's work." Sure, does it sound naive and kind of out there? Obviously. But it's what keeps my people sane without them turning into whatever this world makes people these days. We're trying to be different. And honestly, it worked." Ryan says, "Well, I'm glad to be here. I'm just glad to be a part of it." Xavier says, "I just wish Amelia was here with you. She would have loved this. I heard about what happened at the camp, the Viper attack. I heard what they did to you. Ashley told me. You don't even look alive, man, I can't lie." Ryan says, "I feel dead, I do. But alive, if that makes sense. Ever since I lost my wife, it's like that guy, Ryan, is just not there anymore. And I'm trying to find my place in this life again." Xavier says, "Well, welcome to the Apostle family, buddy. This can be your restart."
Well, it's the same thing.
We see it's the next day. Ryan is in the cafeteria as he bumps into James, and James says, "Watch where you're going, you stupid fuck." Ryan says, "Can we talk?" James says, "What the fuck would I want to talk to you about?" Ryan sits him down and says, "Look, I'm sorry about what happened. But to be fair, you attacked me." James says, "Yeah? Well, I found it awfully funny that my camp was attacked literally right after you showed your face." Ryan says, "It wasn't me. You realize I didn't find my wife, huh? I assume her dead by this point." James says, "Huh. Well, that makes both of us." Ryan says, "Your wife is dead too?" James says, "It's a long story. But look, I don't care about you, alright? You do you. But if you try something funny again, I will kill you, and this time I ain't missing." Ryan says, "Agreed. So, we both agree? Truce?" They shake hands, and Ryan says, "How the hell did that happen?" We see Ashley outside the cave in a little man-made arena that they built nearby the water. As we then see her fighting one of the apostles as they are training, Ryan walks up and watches them fight as they are pretty evenly matched. So we then see Ashley trip him to the ground and the guy falls as she pins him down for over 3 seconds and says, "And he's out." The crowd cheers and Ashley says, "Good job, Felix. We'll try again later." Ryan walks up to her and says, "Not bad. You do this all the time." Ashley says, "Yeah. Back when I was a Marine, I used to train people all the time. Now I'm training these people. I make sure that every apostle knows how to fight." "I think you're about to be my next student, Ryan." Ryan says, "I'm down for that. Be cool to know how you put someone on their ass a lot faster." And Ashley looks positive and says, "This is the start of hopefully what is a long life here." As we then see a montage of time going by, as we see Ryan behind a fence, ready to go out in the arena. The fence opens as we see him go up against a few other apostles. He starts off good, but then they overpower him. And Ashley says, "It's alright, you're doing good, Ryan. Come on, let's run it again." We hear Xavier narrating and says, "We need more good people to keep this community thriving. When you go out into the world, you wear these masks, for your own protection out there and for others. It keeps our identity hidden. No one can trace anything back to us, and no one will know who we are. We don't speak to strangers until we're in our hospices. Voices and faces are the biggest dangers in this world. And to assure our survival, we don't use them out there." We see Ryan doing push-ups and jumping jacks as we then see him training to be an apostle. Xavier says, "We have different masks for different people. The white mask is mine. The white represents leadership and full control. The blue ones are the go-to soldiers that we need to defend this place. The green are the people who teach you what you need to know out there. They're their own leaders in their own way. And every other color is a standard apostle." As Ryan is being handed one of the standard apostle masks, as we see him now in the arena, as he fights Ashley, and this time, he's able to put her down for over 3 seconds, as the crowd now cheers for him.
Huh.
2 years later, 2 years before Lincoln's death, we see Ryan is an apostle walking the streets out on a hunt. As he then sees a few deadheads walking up to him, as he pulls out a small blade and kills them. We then see him aimlessly walking as he discovers the covered bridge. As he then is walking through, we see him walk through the old abandoned streets of suburban estates. We then see him go to the old military base. We then see him discovering the old burnt-out ranch. And then he walks up to the burned-out Washington, D.C. As we see him look at it with pure anger. As he hears the voice in his head saying, Lincoln, West, you find him, and you make that monster pay." Ryan looks sad and says, "I'm trying." As he then walks off, we then see him walking along the river, as he then sees something that catches his eye, and Ryan then looks in the water to see a dead Lindsay that's now nothing but bones. Ryan looks at this and says, "Well, how did you get here, sweetheart?" We then see him continue his journey. As he hears a truck driving down the road, he hides in the bushes for cover. We see Lincoln and Tom drive in a truck, as the truck then stops, and Lincoln says, "Damn it, I thought you said you filled this thing up before we left." Tom says, "Calm your tits there, buddy. I'll refuel." Ryan is watching them, as Lincoln says, "You know, I've been thinking a lot about the Vipers lately." Tom says, "Oh yeah? Why's that?" Lincoln says, "It's been 3 years, man. I mean, we've had no problems. We've finally been able to live, you know? I don't know, I guess I'm just not believing that we've managed to be at peace for that long now, especially after what we did." Tom says, "Buddy, it's because we did the hard thing to get here. That's why we're still standing." "All right, that'll do it." Lincoln says, "Good, let's get the fuck out of here." As they then drive away, Ryan comes out of the woods and stands on the road as he's watching them drive away from far. And Ryan says, "I'll see you soon, Lincoln West." A few days later, we see Ryan and Xavier out there with the apostles fighting off a horde of the dead. As we then see them fighting them off, one of them starts running towards Xavier, and Ryan sees this and runs over to help him. As he stabs it in the head and says, "What the fuck was that?" Another apostle says, "Sir, are you good?" Xavier looks out of breath and starts sitting down and says, Yeah, I'm good." Ryan then says, "What's going on with you?" Then he sees the blood showing through his shirt, and Xavier lifts it up as we then reveal he's been bit. Ryan looks speechless and emotional, and Xavier says, "I guess my time has come. I can't believe this is how it ends. I thought there'd be more time." They all have no idea what to do, and Ryan then takes the lead and says, "Come on, we gotta get him back home, and we gotta get him there now." As Ryan and the other apostles carry him over their shoulder as they try to get him back home before the infection
Well, that
takes
explains
his
why
life.
these
We see Ashley sitting by the water, and we see her and Apostle Cheryl are talking, and Ashley says, "It's going to be getting cold again soon. I'm just glad we don't have a shithole to stay in. We'll be ready for winter this season." Apostle Cheryl says, "I'd say we're about ready for anything, honestly." We then see Ryan and Xavier and the apostles coming back in a hurry, and Ashley and Cheryl run up to this, and Ashley says, "Oh my God, what the hell happened?" Ryan says, "I don't know. He got bit. We need you to help us get him inside." We see them make it underground as they put him in his room, and they put him down on his bed, and Ashley says, No. How the hell did this happen?" Ryan says, "We were on patrol like usual. All of a sudden the dead started coming up, and one of them was running towards Xavier. We tried to save him, but it was too late." Ashley looks scared as she then says, "What the hell are we gonna do? We can't amputate. We can't amputate. What the fuck are we gonna do? He's supposed to lead these people. How the fuck are we supposed to push on?" Everyone is freaking out, and then Xavier says, "Everyone shut up! I got bit. Alright, I can't change it. I don't want to die. But despite what I've been telling you people for years, sometimes the world just sucks. And I got that rude awakening. When I die, when I'm gone, I want no other but Ryan to take my spot." Ryan says, No, I can't." Xavier says, "Everyone clear out. I want to talk to Ryan alone." Ashley and the others then walk out. Ryan sits down, and Xavier says, "This is it. The end of my story. I can't change it. I can decide what I want to do with this place, and that's you." Ryan looks emotional and says, "No, I can't lead. I can't be the leader. That's just not what I am." Xavier says, "There's only 3 candidates. There's Ashley, but she ain't a leader, she's a follower. I believe she would make a great leader, but she doesn't want it. She's told me before she doesn't want to lead. There's James, but he would take it, but he would fuck it all up. He's out of his mind and way too goddamn trigger happy. But you, I've gone back with you for over 10 years. You're my best goddamn friend, man." Ryan says, "You're mine too. You're like my fucking brother." He breaks down, and Xavier says, "And that's why you have to lead them, Ryan. You said once before that you don't know why you survived the fire. That you should have been dead by now. That you didn't know why you survived all this time. I hate to break it to you, man, this is it." Ryan says, "I'm no leader. I'm just Ryan. Guy who let his wife die. Who ran like a coward. That's all I am." Xavier says, "That was Ryan. This version of you is resilient.
strong, powerful. My people respect you because they know who you are. You saved most of them in the real world when they were struggling for money. These people respect who you are. We've had 10 years of friendship, and I know I shouldn't be asking you this, but I'm asking you anyway. If you don't take over, this place is gonna fucking fall, man.
Ryan says, I just don't want to be that guy anymore. This Ryan. This Ryan always lets people die. And always runs away from his own problems. Xavier says, you know who didn't run away from his own problems? Ryan says, who? Xavier says, the bishops. The bishops were successors to the apostles. That's what I need you to be. I need you to be their bishop. Not Ryan, but bishop. The one who leads them. The one who cares about them, which I fucking know you do. I'm asking you as your best friend. I'm asking you as my brother. And as my death wish, you lead these suckers through it. Give them the courage to push on no matter what. They will follow you. You already have their respect. But do they have Bishop? Ryan is crying and says, thank you for everything you did, brother. Xavier says, who were you thinking? I just got bit like a dumbass by running deadheads. Ryan says, because you made it matter. And I'll make sure that these people matter for as long as I can. Xavier pulls out a gun and says, I'm ready. Ryan says, no. Xavier says, I don't want to feel this pain anymore, bro. I just don't have it in me to wait till death. And for this to slowly happen, please. Tell your people. Tell your people. I didn't die a Kaplan. Ryan says, I promise. I promise.
No.
As we see Ashley and the others waiting outside the door, as Ryan walks out and closes it, as they then stand there in silence for about 10 seconds until we hear the gunshot go off. Xavier ends his own life. The next day, we see Bishop going up to everyone as they all gather around, and Bishop says, I'm sorry for you all. I know we're living in a time of uncertainty. One of the last things that Xavier said to me was, lead them. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really know what the hell I'm doing here. But we're gonna figure it out together. It's gonna take some getting used to. I'm gonna learn as I go along, and I hope you're alright with that. But there's one thing I can promise every goddamn one of you, that you will not die. We will survive, and we will be one united front. We will make it, because I know we have it in us. You are my apostles. And as your leader, I am your bishop. Things will never be the same, but it'll be something. The group claps for him. As he smiles, we then see a tear go down his eye. As we see, he misses his best friend.
Well, damn, it's like literally starting the next episode right off the bat. How about I even click it? Damn. Wow. Usually you have like an ending or something like that, and yeah, it's just like, oh, no, they end. Going to this. It's like, damn. Okay. Ah. give it an 8. Yeah, it's actually a good thing I'm not doing that one. Doing that hedgehog roads. Yeah, that would definitely. Yeah, it would definitely make it turn. Sure. Well, 15 minutes left fire. Yeah. Yeah, I give it an 8. It's a solid 8. It was decent. Jesus Christ, Eli. God. How did I go to sleep? Damn. This frickin' never goes to sleep. I tell you, ridiculous. Yes, yeah, I give it an 8. It was decent. In meeting his friend, favorite. Assuming his friend getting killed, or dying there at the end because he got bit. Was definitely a little sad for sure. The media, or the meetup, excuse me, was pretty solid. You know what I mean? It definitely was good callback for the, you know, for him then, you know, meeting his friend, or you know what ended up into that situation. And that was good, you know. Ooh, swimming. And yeah, lot of edges and things like that he, you know, went through to, you know, kind of do that situation. So. Yeah, very deep, definitely deeper, for sure, in this episode, and yeah, it was good. Little plot thickness, we're almost caught up with him. Yeah. Yeah. Damn. Tells you how much we can cruise through it, for sure. Zooming. And now you can see that my target is definitely kicking in. Not a question. Oh, this chair. I am sinking more and more. God bless it. See, Ryan is gently good man. Let him revenge on Lincoln. Change him. He and Lincoln are all that different. No, that's true. That is true. God damn it, Dan. New resemblance is on. You know, it's unbelievable. Here we go. Final part. 17 minutes.
1 year later. We see Bishop sitting in his office, writing stuff down, as we hear a knock at the door. He says, "Come on in." Apostle Cheryl walks in and says, "Hey, sir, we got 5 new intakes." We searched them at the entrance and we're processing them now. Bishop says,
5. Wow, that's the most we've had in months. Gonna need a bigger bunker soon enough.
Cheryl says, you can say that again. My God, if there was only one place in the world that'd be as safe as this, huh? Bishop looks like he's thinking, and he says,
Give it 20 more people, we won't have enough supplies to feed them. If we want to keep growing at this rate, we're gonna have to find a second home. And soon.
Cheryl says, well, there's a lot of opportunities out there. I'm sure we could snatch something up. Bishop thanks her as she walks out, and he says,
Instant headache with that one.
we see him walking through the bunker, as we then see people don't look at him the same. They look at him with respect now. As we then see, something is going on at the entrance. Bishop walks up to this to see James, badly hurt, and Bishop says,
What the hell happened?
James says,
Devin, Molly, Tim, Felix, they're all dead.
everyone in the nest hears this, and James says,
This place, called Kingstonville, they killed them. They killed them all. We gotta go back. We gotta kill them.
Bishop sees all of his people look scared, and he whispers,
Not here. Not like this. You get yourself cleaned up and you come and see me. Not a word about this until you do.
Bishop turns around and says,
Alright, show's over, everyone.
as everyone looks sad that they've lost some of their home. Bishop is sitting there as James walks in all beat up, and Bishop says,
There you are. Come sit your ass down.
James sits down and says nothing, and Bishop says,
Well, I wasn't there, so what the fuck happened?
James says,
Well, we were out on a hunt, and we ran into these people in the woods. One of them was...
Bishop says,
One of them was what?
James says,
The leader was my brother, Lincoln West.
Bishop hears this and looks angry and says,
Lincoln, huh? He was the son of a bitch that burned down that city, of all those innocent people.
James says, oh yeah, he told me about all that. He practically waved it in my fucking face, like as if he was fucking proud of it or something. And even though I tried to make peace with my brother, he just killed everybody. The only reason I'm alive is because he didn't get me in time. Bishop says,
Well, this man's a monster. And I've seen it firsthand, what he does to people. So, looks like we got ourselves a new enemy.
James says, we sure do. Bishop says,
The fact
Well,
that it looks
We
at him
know
that
where it
way
is, but they don't know where we are, correct?
James says, he doesn't know shit. Bishop says,
Question. Does Ashley know about Lincoln?
James says, she does not. Bishop then says,
Does she care about him?
James says, she always favored him, just like my fucking dad did. Bishop says,
I don't want to hear about your daddy issues. You already have that crazy son of yours as it is.
James says, so what do we do? Bishop says,
The way I see it, there's only one way this can go. We're getting rather lower on supplies here. And with all these new mouths to feed, there's this Kingstonville place right at our disposal. Your brother killed our people, and he's responsible for all those innocent lives getting killed back there. Not to mention, I promised someone that I was trying to save that I would find Lincoln and I would make him pay for everything he's done. We're gonna handle him, and we're gonna take him down. But we are not striking first. We're gonna plan this out. We're gonna get all the information we need about his community. And when the time is right, you and I will get revenge on Lincoln West.
James says,
How do we keep Ashley out of this?
Bishop says,
Simple. The night we confront him, we'll tell her to hold down the fort while we go out to finish it. The only problem is that we need someone on the inside, someone that they'll take in, someone that they may trust, so we can get all the information we need.
James then smirks and says,
I think I have some.
later on, we see James walk in and says,
I'm back.
a young man comes up to him and says, Dad, I just heard. What the hell happened? James says,
None of your fucking concern.
don't worry about it. Isaac walks up to him and says, enough, Dad. Just because I've only been here a month doesn't mean you get to treat me like shit. James says, hey, watch your language, boy. You're not loyal to me.
And after what happened to Mom, you only looked at me as mad. And you left me. You think you could just come back after all this time and expect things to be different? No. Not how it works, Isaac. Isaac says, fuck you. James then punches his own son and says, shut up and listen to me. You want to be useful? You want to actually matter to this place? Isaac says, Dad, I'm loyal. Please, what is it going to take for you to respect me? James says, there's a community named Kingstonville. It's fortified and well guarded, although they take people in. If I draw you a map, you think you could be our inside man? Isaac says, hell yes, yeah, I can do that. James says, all right. Now this place is ran by your Uncle Lincoln. Isaac says, oh God, that piece of work? James says, look, I know you hate him, but it's going to be easy. You go in, you'll learn what you can about the rations, their weapons, the residents, any bit of information that'll count towards us doing what we're doing here. And it'll help you and I look good in front of Bishop. And eventually, this place is going to be ours. Isaac smiles as we see James and his son have a plan.
Making me hate two characters.
Later that night, we see Isaac walking through the woods as he puts his bag down and takes his mask off, as he looks out to see Kingstonville from far. As he then puts his mask in the bag, as he then buries it with the rest of his things and starts walking towards them to sabotage them.
14 months later.
14 months later, 1 week before Lincoln's death, we see it's the middle of the night. Bishop, James, Ashley, Cheryl, and a group of apostles are out on a hunt, as Bishop says. So you said you saw a camp out here? How many? Ashley says, I don't know. Maybe 15 to 20 of them at least. Bishop says, that's a lot of people. I'm not sure we can spare the supplies. Ashley says, we'll make it work. If they check out, of course. They are standing over the mountains as Bishop pulls out binoculars and looks at them from far and sees a small camp of people that are barely scraping by. Ashley says, what do you think? James says, looks like a bunch of fucking losers to me. Bishop then looks at them, and then he sees Rivers is one of them, as he remembers what they did to him. As James says, they're useless, absolute waste of time. Ashley says, no, they're not. They're probably very nice people. Bishop then says, these people are trash. They're the ones that took everything I had out there on the road all those years ago. Ashley says, what are you trying to say? Bishop says, what goes around comes around. He smirks and Ashley looks very unsure about this. And then we see Rivers walking through her camp as she walks up to her brother and says, look what I got. We then see she caught some fish and he says, ooh, nice. Gonna be eating good tonight. Rivers says, where's Dad? Vivian speaks up and says, he went out hunting for a bit. Said he'd be back later. Rivers says, alright. Well, we really shouldn't. We then hear an explosion as Rivers looks freaked out and everyone starts running for their lives. As Rivers is running through, there is smoke all over the camp. As she's trying to find her brother and the others, she then sees several people with neon masks are going in and killing everyone. Rivers looks terrified as they see her too. We then see Bishop runs in and shoots up the place and kills a few guys. As the last one he kills falls to the ground, Bishop then sees the old Viper sword that he had from the city. He takes it off the guy and holds it to the guy's throat and he says, stealers can't be beggars, so don't even try. And as we see, the revenge side of Bishop is starting to come out, as now he is not the runner, he is the attacker. Rivers then sees Bishop kill one of her people, and she looks scared of him. And she stands there in the smoke, and then she figures out why he's attacking her. As she recognizes him. She then quickly starts running away from her camp before they kill her, too. We see Rivers running through the woods as we see her in a big panic.
Later on, we then see Bishop looks at James, Ashley, Cheryl, and the others, and he says, This was a test for all of you. And those people that we just killed, they took something from me. Frankly, I was angry. These people had to die so that they wouldn't do this to anybody else. That is why we did what we did. Now these people that killed 5 of ours last year, we're closing in on them.
Doing the same shit.
We're gonna
just
fight
other
back
people.
against them. We're gonna get revenge for what these murderers did. I know you don't like this life. I don't like it either. But it's what we need to do to survive. And as your bishop, I will always keep you safe. That is one promise I will never break. So let's finish up what we did here today. We get revenge on Kingstonville. And then, we become what apostles truly are. We will save people. They all stand around as Bishop then smiles and says, Thank you, Xavier. This will change apostle history.
Made a slight error.
We see Luke and Bishop sitting across from each other, as Bishop says, and that's it.
Slight error.
That's how I got here. Luke says, that's the biggest load of horseshit I've ever heard. But whatever makes you sleep at night. Bishop says, after what you did, you should be the one worried about sleeping tonight. Alright, gentlemen, put this dog back in his kennel. As they take him away, we see Ashley eating with a few other apostles in the cafeteria. As we see, she's zoned out completely, and she's saying absolutely nothing. She then walks up and sees James standing on the catwalk, and Ashley leans over the railings as we see James walk up to her, and she says, What the fuck do you want? James says, To talk. We haven't in a while, and I wanted to make sure you understand. Ashley says, Understand what? That you lied to me about knowing where my brother was? That you tried to keep me away while you murdered our brother in the dead of night? James says, Well, it was a long time coming, and something that needed to be done. Ashley says, Needed to be done. How the fuck do you get to make a call like that? Do you not feel anything about what you did? James says, Of course I do. Satisfaction. Ashley looks horrified by her brother, and she has a tear rolling down her eyes, and says, This was never going to stop, wasn't it? This conflict between you and Lincoln ever since you were little? I hoped it would have gotten better, but it consumed you. Like I feared it always would. So you don't have to act like you care. You don't have to let it bother you. Because I realized that I didn't just lose one brother that night. I fucking lost both of them. She starts walking away, and James says, I'm going out for a bit. Got more business to attend to. It appears our little friends have escaped to the city. Patrols have said they saw Dave and his band of fucktards heading towards the city. Want to join or hang back and do nothing like usual? Ashley says, You do what you want. Who knows? Maybe I will come find you. She walks away as they then go their separate ways.
Damn.
Back in Washington, D.C., Rivers and Tom are sitting up on the roof as Tom says, Alright, I'm gonna get me some shut-eye. You good to take watch? River says,
Honestly, that's probably the only character
Thanks
I'm
again for
liking.
being so cool earlier.
Is Ashley.
Tom says, It's no problem.
At least
Just
she's
call me
actually-
Cool Man Tom. Yeah, that
Mark.
kind of sucks, but it's a working title. River says, Yeah, we'll work on that.
Please.
Good night, Tom. He then walks away as he walks through the building, making his way downstairs. We then see him looking through old rooms, trying to find a good spot to sleep. As he then picks one, he lays on this mattress, as he then sees an old photo fall to the floor. As he picks it up, he sees it's Ryan's old photo of Amelia. Tom just sits there completely confused as he wonders why that's there. Back at the Apostle Nest, we see apostles working. We see Bishop sitting at his bar with a small smile on his face. We then see Ashley sitting in her room as she breaks down. This time, she breaks the mirror and takes out her anger on something she can control. We then see Isaac writing stuff down in a book, as we see several lines drawn, and it says 24, showing how many people he's killed. We see James and some apostles standing outside of Washington, D.C., as James says, a long-awaited slaughtering in the house of 1,000 corpses. As Tom just looks at the photo of Amelia and realizes something big is going on here. As we see Luke in his cell, half passed out, he hears someone coming and he says, you assholes were already here long enough today. Are you finally about to just kill me now? Then get it over with, you assholes. Kill me! We then see the person walk up to him and they say, why would I do that? We see it's Ashley and she says, can you run? Luke says, yeah. Ashley smirks and says, good, because it's time for you and me to hit the road.
Wow, and that's how you ended it. Wow. Okay. Crazy daisy. We got episode 5. Standing up for her family. And she did the right thing. Yeah, she's actually the one I do like, actually. Her I like because she actually has a heart. And James, he's psycho. He's a psycho. And an asshole. Nuts. I'm sorry, really? You're jealous for your brother because why? Because he's not such a bastard. I mean, you get jealous over that? It's unreal. Almost kind of sounds like which I don't know how, like, similar it connects to in terms of similarities, but I think in some aspects it almost kind of seems like it's a Mufasa and Scar situation. You know what I mean? Kind of, but in this case it's with Lincoln and James, you know. I was at how deep it goes, of course, but, I know there is, you got jealousy in that situation. You got, oh, he's better than you. That, that type of situation. You know what I mean? You stealing the king role, that type of thing. You know what I mean? So. It's that type of situation. It definitely reminds me a lot of split Tim Lincoln or Team Bishop. No. I'm still Team Lincoln, 100%. However, I see the other side, and I see the perspective they're coming from. Bishop has perspective. James, hell no. Yeah, no, he definitely does not have perspective. So that much I can tell you. I'm a dead man now. I tell you what. I'm a dead man. Seeing both sides is the point the episode brought, so W is glad that he saw the story first when it was. Now, time for the main group next episode. Appreciate it. I'm glad you were able to stick around, or make your way forward, for sure. I'm definitely dead now. Okay, but I'm happy I definitely did it. Because I definitely was good. I give it an 8.2. It's slightly better than the last one. I will say it was slightly better. Not by much, but it was slightly better. Ashley and doing the right thing with the Luke, that situation I liked, and I liked the fact that she called James out and such like that. I really liked that. That was nice. It was a nice. It showed greatness, and I like that portion. Yeah, I can't wait for James to die. I am waiting for that to happen. I do not like his character one freaking bit. He is a cunt loser. And he has no sympathy. He really doesn't. It's insane. It's insane. He's a monster. It truly is. It's insanity. Head out now myself. Have cool, and I appreciate it. Yeah, 8.2 out of 10. It was very good. Hit that like button. That'd be awesome, guys. Hope you guys did enjoy my reaction. It was a lengthy one for sure, but hopefully you stuck it out for sure. Hit that subscribe if you guys are new. Would appreciate it. On the road to 8K. Hit that bell to be notified every time I go live, upload content. We're gonna get back in the swing of things, of course. The next episode of Agile Bros, I'm gonna shoot for that one after, maybe during the afternoon time frame, potentially, is what I'm gonna shoot for. Hopefully, at least that's what I'm praying for. So wish me luck on that. Again, check out Dan Reviews, his channel. Link is in the description for his channel. Show him love, support. All credit goes in. As well as the playlist of World Gone Mad Universe Link is in the description for the playlist. And the video explaining the shocking thing that happened with my man Lincoln. The video link for that is in the description as well. So definitely do check all of them out. Of course, my playlist for reacting to the series will eventually be in the description as well. So, stay up to date with me on my social medias. Links are in the description. Of course, you got my second channel, Twitch channel, Heisenberg's channel, down there below as well. Consider becoming a member. We'll appreciate it very much. Also for the channel, keep us going. Get extra content. Like below. You go for 6 likes. That'd be awesome. And again, appreciate you, Dan, sticking around and grinding it with me. I was gonna do another episode of Headshot Bros, but sleep and tiredness. So it's a mix of both, ish, roughly. But anyways, I'm gonna end it here. Yeah, 8.2 out of 10. A little bit with Bishop. A little bit with the others go. I liked, and I thought it was decent. So not bad, pretty good so far. Of course, I'm more curious on how the rest of the group kind of continues and how that kind of builds to really see if my interest kind of continues. These episodes are strictly you just kind of giving more backstory with the bishop and everything like that. And that's why I was willing to give it a shot. So we'll really see if the episodes going forward make that difference, of course. So anyways, hit that like button, subscribe, I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Grace, signing out. Peace. Have a good one, guys. Much love. Stay safe. Shoot for that episode. Headshot Bros. Later.